And we're live. What is up, everybody? Drew, I don't know why this just hit me, but we do like a morning show. Like we're live. We're talking to real people right now, Drew.
Yeah.
I got a flash in my brain.
Good day, mate.
That is.
Good day.
Good day, mate. Let's go, Drew. I don't know why we're doing accents, but I'm here for it.
Galimera sauce.
Galimera sauce.
Jersey's in the chat heavy this morning.
What's up,
Shout out to
chat?
Jersey. We out here.
What's
We
up,
out here, Jersey.
chat?
Chat heavy.
Thank you, Joshua. Right back at you. All right, Bullish Future. We are live indeed. Fit through cancer. Let's go for Swayze, my man. Keep it up.
Tom, you haven't seen Sinners yet.
I haven't seen Sinners and won't see Sinners until it's streamable.
When's the last
that.
movie that got you out the house?
The last one I remember was a rerun of Close Encounters of the Third Kind years and years ago. I'm not sure that I went to the Sphere in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
And it was incredible. All right, China. Let's talk about it.
China's
not here for it, Drew.
They are not.
They're calling Trump out. They're saying that he's lying, that they are not in talks with the U.S. over tariffs, that America needs to back down immediately. And if they don't, then we're here for it. We told you guys, we're all the way. If you want a tariff war, we're happy to have one.
They didn't say a tariff war. They said whatever kind of war you want.
That's true.
China
That's
is ready
true.
for it.
I think was it this guy that said it?
It's the MFA _ China account. That's my new favorite
go.
spicy China account.
This guy's not here for play.
They just tweeted, China and the U.S. are not having any consultation or negotiation on tariffs. The U.S. should stop creating confusion.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying stop lying, motherfucker.
And then they've also put out, fentanyl is a U.S. problem, not China's. The U.S. and the U.S. alone has responsibility to solve it. Despite the goodwill China has shown, the U.S. slapped tariffs on Chinese imports and blames it on fentanyl. This is bullying through and through and highly damaging to dialogue and cooperation on counter-narcotics. The U.S. should know that vilifying others will not hide its failed responsibility. To punish those who try to help will not solve any problem. And imitation or threats, certainly not the right way to engage with China, period.
Yeah. So that tweet made me feel some kind of way, though. I'm not going to lie.
Like, don't be talking to U.S. like that.
No, but if you're a country that literally clamps down on the internet, that clamp down on Bitcoin mining, like these guys clamp down. When they want to clamp down, they clamp down. I think it was it? I flew into an airport. I can't remember now if it was Hong Kong. Probably not, because when I flew into Hong Kong, it was still under British rule. But there are. I know China has this kind of vibe with smuggling drugs, where it's like you will be punished by capital DEATH. So death. If these guys wanted to clamp down on fentanyl, I'm not saying they could get it to zero, but they could really do something. Now, if it's true that the vast majority of fentanyl is made in China, then that one is like, all right, guys, hold on a second. Like, if this is being dumped in the US and we know that it's coming from you, like, that's not the place, at least for me, to draw the line. The rhetoric around tariffs, I get it. We certainly started that beef. Whether we have reason to or not is beside the point. We fired the first shot.
I look at tariffs the same way I look at the MS-13 as a terrorist organization. I think that was a lever in order to enact the policies that empowered Trump. This isn't about fentanyl. This is
agreed on the tariffs.
This is definitely not about fentanyl.
I'm not sure why he beats that drum so much.
Yeah.
If he thinks it gives him a lot of cover story, if people in his base really like it, that one's always seemed weird to me. He will pick a weird issue and like make that the thing, like Zelensky started the war. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And yes, we already had this conversation yesterday. I'm looking more into it. I am very open to, but even if I run the analogy of, not if I run the analogy, even if I accept that they were shelling during a ceasefire into the Donbass, that would be like China invaded California. They've got some of our territory and they're saying, well, we have a ceasefire, and then we start shelling them and then they invade us all the way. Now, admittedly, it's fuck around and find out, but it's California. That's my shit. Yeah. So I think we have become confused in America on how the Ukraine perceives it's the Donbass there's a couple other areas, I have to get better on the geography here, where we think of it as, well, Russia's already taken it, and it's just sort of Russia's. And it's in their constitution that we will get it back. So they have a very different read on that situation than we do.
I don't know. I feel like regardless of fault, Russia doesn't want a ceasefire. Russia's not chilling.
That seems pretty clear.
Yeah, like they were having peace talks this weekend and Russia did another attack. The U.S. sent an embassy to Russia yesterday and one of the generals died in a car bomb. So it's one of those things that...
Wait, that felt like you put two things together. Are they actually related? Because the bombing was in Russia.
The bombing was in Russia as the U.S. was supposed to start talks at that same day.
Yeah, but that was a Ukraine thing. Ukraine, presumably, I don't know that they're denying it.
So yeah, it's a Russian general. So
but they blew him up. Yeah. In Moscow, which is like, that's got IDF vibes in terms of, okay, they're starting to build their CIA type shit. I should have said Mossad, not IDF. Like the underground, we've got moles inside of Russia. What we want you to see is we can touch you, even in your capital. It's a thing, man. Like this is a weird moment in history. Admittedly, I haven't paid attention to this stuff. Maybe life has always felt like this, and it is just now that I'm paying attention. But I don't think so, man. I really think that this is a escalatory moment where things are building and building and building, and you've just got too many things happening in too many places. Obviously, you've got, I think our biggest threat is China, so we need to be paying attention there. But that, at least right now, is economic. You've got what's going on in Russia, Ukraine. You've got what's going on in Israel, Palestine. But you've also got Iran, like really trying to make moves on their nuclear capabilities. Trump saying they will not get nuclear. And Marco Rubio, this is, if not verbatim, is really close. Trump wants to avoid a war at all costs, but he reserves the right to respond militarily if they continue to push their nuclear program forward. And I was like, God damn. Like, if we, now, as far as I can tell, they are resisting urges from Israel to strike on Iran. But, like, you've just got another thing sitting out there that is like...
And for him to brag that he's going to end this war in day one, and now we're in middle of car bombings on the way to peace.
Nothing there seems like it's settling down.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever dropped in the chat. Since we're talking about international news, I'm a hard pivot real quick. Thailand just launched an AI-powered robot with cop, and I feel like we should be talking more about this. This is giving me like...
Is this like actually on the streets?
Like it's getting deployed.
Why he's so tall?
He's on a platform.
But even the platform is like 6 inches. It's still,
is there,
still the tallest thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to build a robot, you don't make him 5'2".
The hypergamy of the robot is crazy.
Is there any video? No.
Someone's gonna see that robot on Hinge and swipe because his height can stay 6'7". You know what I mean? Like,
I have a feeling that robot's going to be pretty awkward. There is some stuff coming out of China, better robots than I've seen anywhere. Oh, this was the one. I think it's still on the sheet where I was like, man, America's just really giving up on innovation.
Yeah. There was the robot marathon that happened in
China.
Yeah, it was crazy. This is the giving up on innovation right here.
Look at this. Look how natural that thing is.
Robots are here, yo. Robots are here.
Yeah.
They're awkward, they're stumbling, but they're here.
I won't say that one's awkward. I've seen humans walk weirder than that. Ooh, man. Yeah, it's real. It's real. Peace is way cooler than war, Drew. Like, yeah.
Now with all these robots popping up, it's like, yo, I want no problems, China. Let's talk about it.
It is that, oh man, we really had a good run. When the Berlin Wall fell, that moment, like that, call it 15-year run, maybe 20-year run, where it just really felt like we're good. It was awesome.
Tracy put I walk weirder than that.
But see, Tracy, God bless you. God bless you,
All right, it looks like we have an awkward super chat.
Facebook is winning the air
I
race.
can't get it to
I don't
turn
know that I
on.
buy that. All right, but
But-
we see the motions.
Thank you. Patrick writes in.
It's our man, Patrick Wrightson.
Thank you, Patrick, for your super chat. Patrick says, hands down, best morning show out there.
Let's
right
go.
Well, thank you,
Thank you,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yes.
Said, by the
Please
way-
gas me up in the mornings.
now." Related to yesterday, if Drew wants a good dive into China's impending population problems, Peter Zahan's latest book gives a great expose. And in parentheses, bullish on U.S., though, flex arm emoji.
Nice. Thank you for the people at home that are unable to see that flex arm emoji for letting them know. And the parentheses. It seems important every time you do it.
Eunice, how them pull-ups coming?
Ooh.
Because that flex arm looked flexed.
That flex arm looks flex.
Let's go.
But I can't get, I'm stuck.
You got to do some reverse ones.
I don't, that's
So
the thing, I don't know what
get a
else to do.
stool.
Stool?
Yep. So do your 3.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I'm
Try to get your 4th.
Okay.
When you can't, put your feet back on the stool.
Okay.
Lift yourself up into the position. Flex the muscle as hard as you can. And then lower yourself slowly. And then back on the stool, back up. And then lower yourself slowly. And do that until you're like, I can't even lower myself anymore.
Okay.
And then you'll find, there's the 4th.
Because you're supposed to start hanging, right? Like all the way.
Well, dead hang is a different thing, but yes, dead hang is like a grip strength.
Because that's what I'm
thing.
doing, is I start all the way extended.
Yes.
And then pull. myself
Perfection.
all the way up.
Yes. This is wonderful.
Okay.
These are real pull-ups.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're doing that right. But if you want to now push into the next one, you're going to have to start
Yeah.
doing
I don't know
the
if my girl Violet's in here. Violet, I'm stuck at 3, Violet.
Violet, where you
I
at?
can't do it.
Um,
We also have another super chat.
Trump 2028. People want to talk about it, Drew.
We-
I think
we're
my
all-
feelings are known here on this.
we are on the way. Okay, super chat.
One last one. This one's just from Michael Vandergallion. He's
just from, this is our boy, Michael.
given 550
Sorry,
turkey
guys.
Let's go.
with just a little sticker.
You got it.
Our man's in Turkey.
Thank you, Michael, for your
That's very
support.
kind.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Oh, I got a comment
character-
on mine.
Yeah.
Pair character riding a firework rocket disappearing away before the. Oh, it's an emoji.
Is that the emoji?
It's an emoji.
Are they describing the emoji?
That
Why
is
is
a
this a sticker?
deep
Sheesh.
description.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like you get
romantic.
the emotional insights into
Pair
the thing
character.
writing it. It's like, damn.
Pair character.
All right. I don't know what a pair character is, though.
Yep. Bro, we'll remove the super chat when you are finished. Okay. People wanted
Let's
to
go.
talk about Trump 2028.
Y'all.
However, somebody came at Tom, so you know we like to. We're always
Let's
spicy
go.
here. Built on Rock Productions. Tom is completely blind because he lives off feelings.
Wow.
Berlin Wall was pulled down in 1989. The Gulf War started in 1990. See how delusional he is about feelings.
Okay.
Happy
so
Friday, everybody.
Let's look up the why so often 1991 is clocked. What year did the Berlin Wall fall? Okay, according to chat, let's see here. Man, chat's thinking hard over here. Okay, so November 9th, 1989. So our man's is bang on. And then what year did the USSR collapse? Maybe that's the...
Yeah,
We're
Michael, we
clocking
were
those
struggling
things in
about
two
that super
different
sticker.
places.
We were struggling.
Yeah, 91. Okay, so shout out to our man. So Berlin Wall falls in 89, but the USSR, they don't clock the collapse of that until 91. So those are the two things I was conflating. I don't understand why he's saying that I'm in the grips of emotion, but all right, there you go.
All right.
But anyway, thank you for the update on the dates.
In Trump corruption news, Trump 2028 hats just dropped.
Yeah.
Merch store. People are wearing them. He shouldn't be able to.
Are they wearing them?
Um,
Oh, that's right.
Eric-
Eric,
yeah,
his
Eric had one on.
son,
Yeah.
had one on. Yeah. Didn't they take this down though? Like it got put up, like officially, I think, got put up, and then they took it down. Am I spreading fake news? right now?
I haven't seen the taking down. I just seen Eric watching.
Try to buy it. Where can we go?
We're gonna buy a Trump 2028 hat.
No,
right
I
now.
just want to see if they're active
on live. Sheesh.
It's so funny. I hate it so much that I want to get one.
It's there.
I don't know why. I don't know.
It's
what
there.
to do.
Add to cart.
It's
Look at
$50. That's crazy.
I want my $50.
Tom wanted me to buy it on live. That's what really happened.
Oh man.
Okay, so he can't run. Let's talk about it. He can't run.
He can't run because there is a constitutional amendment that says that you can only serve for 2 terms. But he says that there's something that like would possibly allow him, but he always says, I don't know. That's just what they say. So I have no idea what they're queuing off of. But this one definitely feels like I'm being trolled. So I'm not going to give in, Drew. But yeah, it's a good thing. Term limits are dope. So
We need more term
let's
limits.
stick with the term. Yeah, we probably do need more term limits.
But
That I haven't thought deeply about in terms of Congress, but it does strike me as a better idea that you don't have career politicians.
This is my problem with Trump
It's a
is that
trade-off.
he can have a good idea. He can have a good policy that he pushes out. But then he does moments like this with the 2028 that is like you're feeding your trolls. You're feeding the people that don't
Yeah.
like you. You're feeding the dictatorship rumors. You're feeding the Nazi rumors.
Yeah.
Everything that you're trying to do to clean up your reputation just by releasing this hat is fundamentally like damaging it. People in the chat are talking about this should be a deal breaker for you. You should be more upset. And it's just like he just did the policy about the food dyes.
Okay, wait.
He-
Sorry. Finish your point.
I'm just saying that, like, in the first 100 days of Trump, he has done some things that a normal, sane, sober human being would be like, okay, this is net good for America. But those things are buried because he's illegally immigrating somebody and didn't like pick up when the Supreme Court called. He's dropping Trump 2028 hats. We're about to talk about the meme coin thing. It seems like there's a lot of, I'm going to call it corruption, or things that at least look weird and make you feel uncomfortable that you're politically, the leader of the free world is doing this. And I feel like that hurts his reputation, even though we already know people hate him, people are trying to get him, people call him like Hitler. So is it just that he's blind to it? He doesn't care? Like, that's the frustrating thing about all of this.
Okay, so what is the high predictive validity framing on Trump? I think it's kayfabe. I think it's WWE. I think it's somebody that knows how to read a room. I think it's somebody that knows how to get a big reaction. He knows how to get, like, are you not entertained? Like, he brings a level of entertainment to the presidency that we should probably all hate, if I'm honest. But we don't, especially not as somebody running a morning show. You just are like, hey, there's something to talk about. But Drew, having that level of entertainment at the highest level of government is terrible. Like, there is a reason that Alexander Hamilton was like, the only person that can be first president is George Washington. Like, you need somebody that is viewed as being apart from the fray, so he can run the government without feeling like he's a part of the in the mud politicians. Trump is the exact opposite. Trump is like mud wrestling in the funny outfit, trying to get like attention. This is why, sort of, for anybody that watched Devil May Cry, they represent the president of America as like this weird combination of George W. Bush and Trump. So he's like wearing this cowboy hat American thing, kind of has like the Kid Rock vibe from when he was at the White House. Literally crazy. Trump knows how to get attention. That is the bottom line. But just getting attention, I don't think is the right play. But I think that this is part of his charm and part of his appeal. So when I went to the event at Mar-a-Lago, I was like, oh yeah, like he knows how to entertain. And so when he comes out, it's like, first of all eyes on him. This was like at the peak of that dance thing. And so he was like doing the dance and people were going absolutely crazy. And for better or worse, man, people respond to it. And he's ridden that ability to get attention to the White House twice.
Show O'Cathan on X, shout out to our X community. If Trump ran another term after getting term limit change, would Obama then run also? Doubtful on Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's 147 years old. Bill Clinton's not running. But
Bill
I have
Clinton older than Trump? I don't know that he is.
Let's look it up.
Maybe just
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of people say that they are okay with Trump 2028 as long as like Obama or somebody can run.
Oh, please, Jesus, no. Boys and girls.
Yeah, I'm over
They
them.
are the
Fresh
same age.
blood.
They're the same age?
They are the same age.
Wow,
And
crazy.
actually, Donald Trump is older by 2 months and 5 days.
Let's go.
Wow.
So, yeah. This is just a bad idea.
Obama Trump will break America. America can't survive that.
Obama Trump.
Obama Trump 2028.
Like, a runoff
Yeah,
between the
like
two?
an election between them. Yeah, America would implode.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that we can't. Trump is already breaking it, fracturing.
Not do that. Yeah, I don't understand. What? Let's get new people. Let's get young people. Drew, let's get people with fresh ideas. I love it. Yeah, we have a constitutional amendment. Let's not fuck with that.
So to be clear, in order for this to happen, Congress would have to amend the Constitution, and that can only happen through Congress.
All I will say is it is a constitutional amendment already that you can only run twice. To amend the Constitution again, you need whatever 2/3 majority and it has to be ratified by the states or something. We'll have to look that up. I understand. I am just giving you directional. It's hard.
Yeah. It's not an executive order thing.
Right. But Trump keeps alluding to the fact that there's something out there that would allow him to do it. I don't know.
But honestly, how he's moving, I'm not exactly Kronos on Twitch. He said unless he somehow declares martial law. He made MS-13 a terrorist organization so he can deport anybody from like El Salvador, Venezuela. He did the fentanyl crisis so that way he can enact a trade war. So he is looking at like if I pull...
What are the emergency
Yeah, what's the emergency thing that...
Yeah, I hate this one. I hate this one. I don't like that he makes references to it. I don't like that he's selling merch against it. I don't know why I find the merch funny, but I am admittedly... This one is dumb, and there's an algorithm running in my mind that says he is trying to normalize this, and his whole play is, I'm just going to say it so often that it just doesn't seem weird. And so my base is like, yeah, word. It's a bad move for America.
So Elizabeth says Trump understands the media circus, and we all fall for the clickbait. It's fascinating.
That is correct.
He definitely knows how to elicit an emotion.
Red light, sort of.
Red light, sort of. It was turning on earlier. I don't know what's happening now. Anyway, we have another super chat from Michael Vandergallion. Michael.
What is up, Michael, the Dutchman in Turkey?
Michael, thank you so much. Michael says, what do you think about the way the media treats China? Seems to me they're treating them with a lot of respect. While they oppress their own people, take our tech illegally from us, and sell it back cheap, and are seriously dangerous. Media suddenly loves China, though.
Okay, so I did an episode yesterday where the primary thrust of it was China, and so I had to write an intro for it. And my first variant of the intro, I could hear the wolves howling in the background. Now, if I'm completely honest, it matched exactly how I feel inside my soul. But I was like, because you become what you repeat, and I really, really, really do not want to go to war with China. Kinetic war with China would be a level of bad. I mean... This is where I want to slip into writer mode for a minute to really describe what war with China would look like. It is because I'm in Los Angeles and we would be such an easy target. So it would be swarms of drones coming into LA, dropping bombs, killing people. It would be somebody was trying to commute to get to the office and they just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and they got killed. And you're just like, holy shit. It would be thousands of young people, hundreds of thousands of young people suddenly on the front line shooting and being killed. I mean, it'd just be horror story after horror story. It would be countless kids having stories of, oh yeah, I saw someone's arm had been blown off and it was just laying in the street and I was walking to school and I saw it. I mean, it's shit like that all over the place. It is trauma of the highest order. This is not a thing that we want, even a little bit. So you have to be very careful. So going back to how they're treating China in the media, I rewrote the intro and forced myself to say, okay, how do we acknowledge that China's full of loving and beautiful people that just want to live their life and they just want to do their thing? But you really do have a collision and you have to address it and you can't let this go. You cannot act as if people will not continue to take as much power as they can take. And there's a phrase, ambition grows in the Eden. That might not be the literal quote, but it's very, very close. And the idea is whatever ambitions somebody has, they only grow once they get that first thing. So they get the thing that they said they want. We just want to reunite with Taiwan. Well, once you've got Taiwan, ambition grows in the Eden. There it is. Once you get Taiwan, you're suddenly like, well, you know what else would be pretty dope? We just need a little bit of Vietnam.
I was about to say Vietnam.
Or, you know what I mean? And so
Let's
now
all the South China Sea is ours.
Right?
And my name is
right?
MC.
We're going to make everybody's lives better. Look what we've built, Drew. Yeah. It's way better than what everybody else has built. So we're going to build it. So anyway, I rewrite the intro and far more positive. It may have indexed overly positive. That is entirely possible. Mm-hmm. But I would rather index on the overly positive to ensure that I myself don't spiral into a frame of reference on China that grows increasingly dark because I'm constantly saying dark things about China. So there is a line to be drawn between, is somebody being a propagandist for China, or is somebody just trying to be rational, trying not to get sucked into this? Because war is unimaginably bad. And we can't imagine it because it's been so long that it's happened on our soil. So I just don't want to see us go down that path. So I want to see us rise. But the way I want to see us rise, dear young people, I am speaking to you right now. Parents with young people, raise your children to be loving, kind savages who want to do extraordinary things, who want to be unleashed on the field of ideas, and they want to create, and they want to build, and they want to play to win, and they want to do something extraordinary, and they believe in the core of their being that they can become something extraordinary through unrelenting hard work. Now, I don't expect that to be popular, Drew, but that's one of those, you couldn't convince me if you fucking tried. I could jellyfish it. You could take me all the way down to the essence of my belief system that gravity exists, all of that. When I build back up, I'll still be like skill acquisition and hard work. That's it. Like they are the physics of the human mind. And until skills don't have utility, until skills can't be acquired, you're never going to hear me say anything other than hard work, focus, discipline, drive. Those are the things. Those are the things that if you focus on those and you're alone in the shower and there's nobody to tear you down and there's nobody to cheer you up, do you respect yourself or not? Yes. You'll be like, yeah, I've done what I could do.
Yeah. As a godfather of your AI baby, Rad,
cheers.
I'm going to make sure I instill those values into him before I short circuit him when I baptize him.
Thank you.
I thought it was blood and oil.
He'll be waterproof. He'll be waterproof.
He'll be waterproof.
I'm like beyond offended that the godfather of my AI child assumes that he would short circuit in something as simple as a baptism. Come on, Drew. Come on. Don't hit him with that EMP. They'll be fine.
It's not just the pouring the water, it's the dunk.
It's the
you can take him down like waterproof down to whatever, 30 meters.
30 meters. It's like an Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be outdone by an Apple Watch. Get the fuck out of here.
Right, okay, we got 2 more super chats.
Let's go.
Yes. I'm gonna come to super chats. One of them is in China, so it's gonna set us up. Perfect. But I want to level set with China because right now, on paper, the only beef we have with China is a tariff war that Trump started. And I remember our conversation with Mo Gadat on AI and like China. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. He even said China hasn't done anything predatory, antagonistic. They just been building and doing their own thing. And it seems like America is, I don't want to call it insecure, but you know how you're worried about what the other person is doing and the other person isn't worried about what you're doing. Can you map out or do you think China's playing the long game and they're just acting like they're innocent when they're behind the scenes cutting deals? I understand that they are the other superpower, so we should worry about them, but are they a threat? Like, are they actually trying to inhibit us, attack us, like come at us?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can abstract it from China and just look at the way that great power politics are played. Mm-hmm. There is, so this is why James Burnham is so important and why people really, really should read the Machiavellians. At
The
every level of
Machiavellians
analysis.
by James Burnham.
Thank you. At every level of analysis, there will be a leader. There's a leader in your family. There will be a leader if you have 3 kids. One of them will be the leader. Even if they're all terrible leaders, one of them will have slightly more leadery skills than the other. At the county, city, state, country, always going to be leaders. So there's always going to be an elite class. That's his whole thing. It is architecture of the human mind. There's no escaping it. Okay, so if we know that there's going to be a leader, then on an international stage, there's going to be a leader. Right now, it's the US. So the question becomes, how advantageous is it to be the leader? It's not all advantage. There are definitely downsides. But China believes in themselves, historically, to be the greatest nation on earth. Like, if you look back 5,000 years, it's China, 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 China. Even like when you start thinking about Genghis Khan, I'd be curious to know what kind of ownership they take of Genghis Khan. He's technically from the steppes of Tibet, but we know how China feels about Tibet. So they really see themselves as the great economic superpower, the great leader, and that it was outside forces that pushed them into what they call the 100 years of humiliation. So this is all national identity. We had 100 years of humiliation put upon us by outside forces, starting with the Opium Wars, and they're mad. And so they see it as the outside world forced us into this really bad position. We finally found our way out of it, and we are simply reclaiming our rightful throne as the world's leader. And when you have righteousness on your side, Drew, whether it's objectively true or not is completely irrelevant. Look at the Crusades. People will do insane shit. So they believe we are the greatest civilization of all time. We were forced into a humiliating position. We are coming out of that now. We are due our respect. We're not getting it from the quote unquote number one superpower in the world. And there's no way to know whether they will aggressively pursue, like, we want to be globally dominant, or if they'll always just do the thing that's in their best interest, which will keep pushing them into a position of global leadership. Now, how much of the ambition grows in the Eden can you take seriously? Is it true that China will simply just sort of accidentally become the world's policeman? Because it always starts with trade. We're just trying to help with trade. So we got to patrol the seas, and now we're patrolling the seas. And so now it's like, well, the Houthis are fucking with us. And so we're just going to have to bomb them a little bit. So that's how all of this stuff goes, right? Iran getting nuclear. It's not like, I don't think the U.S. has any concern that Iran is going to nuke us here in the West, but they might nuke Israel. And so that's why now we're going to be super aggressive and make sure that they don't get nuclear weapons. So this is how a power goes from, I'm just trying to make sure that America is strong, to we don't want an empire, but all of a sudden we're functionally an empire. So I imagine the same thing will happen with China. And so now it just becomes a question of, if there is one big global policeman, do you want that one big global policeman to have the default stance of this is about individual rights? Or do you want that one big global policeman to be like, hey, the right way to think is collectivist, and so sorry, America, the things you're doing are not good for the world, so you're going to shut up and sit down. And if you don't, then we're going to come in and do some peacekeeping here in the US and just get you guys in line. And that is, I would expect every country to do everything in their power to stop that from happening. It's just that most countries aren't strong enough to stop America from doing it to them or China from doing it to them. But America is strong enough to stop people from doing it to us. And so the question becomes, do you just shut up and sit down, which seems to be a growing vibe? Yeah. I'm not that generation, Drew. So I'm not here for that. I'm not going to sit down and shut up. So this is how this stuff escalates. But I think we should do everything we can to think of China as a rival and not an adversary. And that does require a little bit of suspension of disbelief. It requires you to Remind yourself that you want good things for China. You want China to thrive and to do well. But you also have to, I think, make the cultural demands of your own country that you're going to do the things that make it impossible to push you around.
Interesting. Okay. I see the setup of the chessboard. It's just the optimist in me that I'm like, oh, hey, they haven't fired a shot, but definitely breaking it down like that, you can see the identity implications, the economic manipulation, the Belt and Road, like their pieces are on the chessboard. They're definitely not playing coy or being innocent. Okay, super chats.
Super chats.
Let's go.
Preston Maloney says, it feels like Trump is losing momentum. Trump blinks on game of chicken with China. Doge inflates their claims of cuts. But even with the claims fall short, Russia-Ukraine war never shows no sign of ending. Trump flop or recover?
That's that meme face, Preston. I don't know. I see no lies detected. I don't know. He's having a bad week for sure.
That's why he put out the hats.
He needed something. He needed a win.
He said, pull my attention away from that over to my hats, baby.
No.
Yeah, there's no doubt. This is, I think, is a critical window in Trump's presidency where we're going to find out if the stuff that he's doing is working or not. If he isn't getting good deals with countries that matter economically, if China's just like, nope, we're not coming to the table, if a bunch of small businesses go out of business because of the quote unquote temporary tariffs on China, it'll be bad. And then he'll start losing the will of his constituents. And then you lose the midterms and it's game over. So I think I said on camera at one point not too long ago that that's my prediction. My prediction is that this stuff is just too complicated. There are too many things going on. He's probably going to lose at the midterms, and that's it. And it will have been a grand experiment.
And for next year.
The last 2 years, he just sort of coasts, and then it'll flip again because the Democrats hopefully will find a message that isn't mired in the DEI of it all, and instead is all about a return to sanity. They reclaim common sense and say, listen, this was just too much chaos. Mm-hmm. You guys elected somebody from the world of reality TV. That was beyond foolish. I hope they say something like, but we hear you. We understand there are national security interests that we have to protect, but there's a sensible way to negotiate with China. There's a sensible way to negotiate with our allies. We want to bring that back. We want to bring a sense of decorum. If they could do that, whoever has that message, I think is going to win. If the Democrats aren't on that, we'll see. We'll see how populist the moment still is at the end of this. If it's still a populist moment, then AOC will have to come on, bang the drum of tax the rich. You're being taken advantage of, because people have to have a reason for why their life doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I like this super chat because I think it's honest. Trump talks a big game, and the proof is in the pudding. And I'm the king of it's only been 100 days. I still think the other shoe needs to drop. I think Trump is still going to be very much powerful until next November. But in the meantime, he is on the clock. People are feeling it. This chaos is making people feel unstable, making people feel nervous. And unless you actually deliver the results, you just have a bunch of confused, nervous people, even in your own base.
Yep.
And that's not useful.
Peace out, Nash Cats.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
One more super chat.
One more.
Let's
Mr.
go.
Mike AZ057. Thank you for your super chat. He says, George W. was president number 9, started in 1789. We had 8 presidents beforehand. Also, there are more combinations in a deck of cards than stars in the sky or grains of sand on Earth. Probably never had 2 decks shuffled the same ever.
I didn't know that. The stars in the sky deck.
We're gonna want to look that one up. It might be true. I often hear that there are more combinations in chess than there are atoms in the universe. But also atoms are kind of big. So when you drill, for real, when you start drilling into subatomic particles, then it's like, well, there's a lot more of those. But anyway, I actually don't know the math of it all. Can you pull that super chat back up, though? I want to look at the nuance of what they're saying, make sure they get their due.
Yeah, but I just looked it up that the presidency, George Washington was the first when we were the official United States of America.
President number 9.
Yeah, before we were
What? That just isn't true.
we were the Continental Congress. Before George Washington was like, this is the first president of the United States.
Yeah.
This is saying 14 versus 8. So
Yeah.
we were Union Republic something before we became the United States.
Very true.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, we do clock the beginning of the U.S. at 1776. We celebrate a birthday based on that, but we didn't ratify the Constitution until 1788. So it's an interesting insight. But in terms of people understanding how we sequence presidents, why we consider it different, if you read about the founding of the U.S., you realize it really was warring states who saw themselves kind of like the European Union before we ratified the Constitution. Then once we ratified the Constitution and the federal government subsumed the debt of the individual states, it really did become a very different form of government. So the government as people see it now is far more wisely clocked at the ratification of the Constitution.
What's this guy's name? Mr. Mike AZ?
Mr. Mike AZ.
Mr. Mike AZ 057. You just blew my mind. And that doesn't happen very often. Because yes, there are far more possible combinations, shuffles, of a standard 52 card deck than there are atoms in the observable universe.
Crazy.
That's nuts. A deck of cards is bigger than the universe. I'm lying, but there is something to
But the
that.
combinations, yeah. Interesting. It's fascinating. I'm surprised by that. It doesn't seem
very
possible.
Some magician can make that romantic somehow. I love you more.
You
than
really
there
have a thing
are.
for
I
magicians?
love
I didn't
you more
understand
times
that.
the combinations of a deck of cards than there are atoms in the universe, baby.
Man, that is
Right?
for a specific young lady. I will say that. That is
You
that's
just
not
said
going to
the
land
way to her heart
with all
is
the
close-up
ladies.
magic.
That's true. That's true.
All the
And
close-up magicians
magic-
out there,
Nope.
come up with something.
Close-up magic is real talk. It is so hard to get good at that.
How does that even make sense? I don't know, Pan. I'm confused as well. That's like nuts to me. Like deck of cards.
Crazy town. Gas is down. Grocery bill down. Illegal alien count down. Illegal immigration down. NASDAQ up, but it's a bad week.
That's a good imitation of those emojis.
You like that?
Yeah, thank you.
I do what I can. Tone Docs, thank you for a counter view on things. Yeah, because all of the stock stuff right now is temporary, and all eyes on China, please. Like that's really what this moment is. Even the illegal immigration stuff, it definitely matters. But the thing that worries me the most by a country mile is China. Things are not going well with China. And if Trump is lying about the negotiations with China, in fact, the wars, those are the things that freak me out. So China is not going well. Russia, Ukraine does not appear to be going well. Maybe behind the scenes, they really are just about to do something, but it doesn't look good from where we're at right now. Things are escalating with Iran. And again, no end in sight for Israel-Palestine conflict. So all the things that he was like, I got this. That's where I'm going to get this done on day one. You didn't get any of that. So anyway, look, Trump is the master of bouncing back. Politics swings wildly from second to second. Same with the stock market. So all of this may be a non-issue in a matter of days. So we'll see. That I wouldn't, to your point, I wouldn't get in too big of a twist about it. But things are not proving to be as easy to solve as one would hope, as they never do. But that's where we're at. Groceries are down where, Michael Dudley wants to know. I'm going to guess they're thinking certainly about eggs, which really are down. Also, inflation is low right now. So I don't think inflation is going to be the area to be mad. At last check, it was like 1 point something. The bad news is that your growth estimates are 1.8% GDP. Youchy, ouch. That would not be ideal. That would be bad. We want to see ourselves get in that territory with our boy Javier Milei, who I think 5.5% is what they're estimating for Argentina. That's pretty tasty, man. He's doing a very good job. Cheers to that.
Seth is having a hard time understanding the card combination atoms thing.
Are we really going to spend more time on that? That's the one? I don't know.
It's interesting.
I
find it
does
interesting.
not strike
I'm in
me
this
as the
space.
one.
I'm in astronomy. I think that's interesting that It's because 52 to 50 to the 52nd power.
Okay, so if you're going to make me go into an area that is sure to lose most of our audience, then let's talk about Kurt Jamigal. Oh, God. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name. Forgive me, Kurt. He did a breakdown of Eric Weinstein's Geometric Unity Theory of Everything, which I started working on last night. I have a feeling it's 3 hours long. It is going to take me a very long time to get through this because I have literally sat in my living room with Eric and been like, okay, explain it to me. Now, he can give it to me at the level of analogy, but the second he starts going into the actual mathematics, I don't understand a single word that comes out of his mouth. So I'm like, uh-oh, that means that I can't think from first principles on this because all I can do is reason by analogy. Now, if Eric Weinstein is right, geometric unity is like a record player. You can pick the needle up and move it anywhere that you want on that thing. So I don't remember asking him if he means time as well, but he probably does. But certainly what he calls pinch to zoom is how you would travel through space very rapidly. So if we want to get into math and numbers, I think that's the most interesting thing happening in math and numbers right now. Because if that's true, our fundamental understanding of the universe is just wildly different. Though I grow more convinced by the day that we're in a simulation. Like, for real. Or at least what we think of as real life operates on the same principles, and that computers are our way of sort of mimicking that information theory. But man, if this is a simulation, they could do a lot better. I won't lie.
Here you go again. I can make.
Although maybe
I can make a better vagina. I can make a better industry. I can make a better.
The better vagina would be the easiest in the world. I can't believe this one's even controversial. But certainly we can agree that space travel could be a lot easier. Like if we were making, and here's basically what I read from Eric. I'm about to say a sentence that Eric is going to scream into the void and say, this is exactly what I'm trying to fucking say. This simulation would be a lot cooler if we could travel around the cosmos instantaneously. Cue Eric screaming. That's the whole idea behind geometric unity is you can, that the layers, like those distances collapse as you do what he calls pinch to zoom. So I don't know. I don't understand it. This shit is it requires a way bigger brain than I have. My brain hands back a null signal when I try to conceptualize deep mathematics. It's very interesting. Mr. G2 says we should have Scott Adams on the show ASAP. Okay, Scott Adams falls into my early days sense of Jordan Peterson. So I didn't have Jordan Peterson on the show for like 2 years because I just kept hearing he's a misogynist. So I didn't look closely at him. I have seen some headline stuff about Scott Adams that freaks me out. Now, I have no idea if it's real or not, but it was enough where I just haven't looked at him. So I don't know enough about him to know if I want him on the show. That's the real answer.
All right, back to Trump and his tough week.
Let's go.
It's not just about the markets. It's about the activist judges. I'm not even going to call them activist judges. I'm going to call them judges because that's their job. He had one judge, Landia McCaffrey.
This is a federal judge, I assume?
Yeah, who blocked his funding cut to schools that promote DEI. He had another judge block the SAVE Act from being implemented, which would require a proof of citizenship for voter registration. There seems to be he's done very much. I'm gonna do it quick and fast. I'm gonna break things and put it back together later. And I feel like a lot of his ambitions have been cut at the waist by these judges.
Yep.
Checks of power, checks and balances. This is what the system is built for.
Yeah.
How do we navigate around this? I like this tension because I think it then brings it up to Supreme Court. If it's that big of a deal, they'll weigh on it. If not, they'll kick it back down.
I think the thing that needs to go to the Supreme Court is how can executive orders be used? I want a ruling on that so we don't have to do all of this back and forth where no matter what Trump does as an EO, somebody's going to try to block it. If that is how the system works and the Supreme Court says, yeah, that's exactly what we want. EOs, they're not a thing. Fuck EOs. This is it has to go through Congress and that's simple as, and we're no longer going to tolerate, we believe it is unconstitutional. That is the right way to say it. We, the Supreme Court, believe it is unconstitutional for the executive to use executive orders as a way to manage the government. And those should be reserved for some like very narrow case that we are now clearly defining. Okay, if that happens, great. But what's happening now strikes me as wacky. And wacky meaning, and this is a paraphrase of something that Elon has said, and I think it makes sense conceptually as an orienting device for me to go look at this thing. I won't say that I absorb it on any level other than emotionally it feels right, but I know not to trust my emotions. But the emotional statement, the statement that feels emotionally right is, if a judge can block any executive order anywhere, then how is it that we live in a democracy? You have the executive branch for a reason, and they put forward executive orders and say, okay, this is how my mandate is meant to be read. Mm-hmm. And and again, we're in emotion, we're in early days of me trying to orient myself to what the issue really is. So all anybody should hear right now is journaling and process thinking. If you don't have the executive order, then all you have is basically a PR machine and the ability to veto. So there have to be things where the president can take action, whether it's firing people, hiring people, whether it's doing executive orders where you say, okay, we're no longer doing that thing, we're going to be doing this thing, and they have to carry some weight. Otherwise, you're going to have a battleship that you can't turn. And you need the president to be able to move quickly on certain things at certain times. And I think that there need to be severe restrictions on those things. But it does feel like right now, unless there is already clarity on this from the Supreme Court, and I'm just not aware of it, which is very possible, that what we're in now is a political battle where judges are throwing their weight in politically. And flip it. So imagine now Trump, let's say that the Republicans stay in power for another 8 years after Trump. So you have a 12-year run, and they go in and appoint just a ton of federal judges all over the place. And now the Democrats take power again. And the Democrats are like, God, we got to use executive orders to unwind some of this. Mm-hmm. And then you've got federal judges everywhere that are like, nope, we're not doing that. And all those things you want to do, hard pass, can't do it. I think they would be just as pissed. So anyway, we need the clarity from the people that are meant to interpret the Constitution, the Supreme Court, as to whether executive orders are even a thing that we should be pursuing. And if they are, we need very clear guidance on what can and can't be blocked. Now, recently on the immigration case, the Supreme Court very clearly said, hey, you, the court, owe the executive branch deference. But they didn't go into detail about what deference they owe them other than to say foreign policy. So we at least know in foreign policy, there is a very substantive amount of deference that the Supreme Court believes that the lower courts owe to the executive branch. So yeah, anyway, you get into these fights specifically so that you can remap the territory and say exactly constitutional, not constitutional.
Yes. I feel like that's literally, that was the point of the entire Constitution. Because if it's just one man can do whatever he wants for 3-4 years, to me, that yields a most likely negative outcome and brings us back to king rule. It brings us back to the early 1800s. Whereas in this system, at least, there's a back and forth. If he did something that I don't want to say is universally accepted, because he shouldn't have to make sure the judges like it. He should be able to do it as long as it's constitutional. But I mean, if judges think he's crossing a line, they do have that right to say, hey, I think you're going a little bit too far.
What I'm saying is, where is that line?
Yeah.
Because, it comes down to me, we just need to look this up. We need to do research. I need to do research.
Let's look it up
offline.
Right. No,
we can do a little bit, but yeah, I mean, by all means, pull it up and see what we can see. But at a glance, you're probably not going to get the nitty gritty. Mm. But I want to know what does the Constitution have to say about executive orders? When are they expected to be used? How much authority do they have? How does the judiciary get in the mix of all this? That will be very interesting to do a deep dive on. The U.S. Constitution doesn't explicitly mention executive orders, but it grants the president broad powers within the executive branch, which are often exercised through them. Specifically, Article 2, Section 1, which vests the executive power in the president, and Section 3, which requires the president to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. I'd have to do a lot more digging on that to see Supreme Court rulings, how they've mapped that out. If it's not specifically called out, that means that it's an interpretation of something else. When they talk about executive power.
Yeah. Speaking of interpretation, I think that's where limitations comes in. Executive orders cannot override constitutional rights, federal laws, or fundamental rights. And I think that's
that's all so open to interpretation.
Exactly. That's the wiggle room that some
I mean, this is exactly why you need very clear Supreme Court rulings. I have a bad feeling that I'm going to be reading a lot of rulings and all of that stuff to try to map this out. So for now, all I can give you is intuitional. You want the tension between the two, but you don't want to put the president in a position where they can't do anything. The whole point, you as the public want to actually be doing something that isn't just ceremonial when you elect a president. Mm-hmm. And we are a federal system, meaning that the states are subsumed under federal law. They can give you additional rights, but they can't take federal rights away. And this has, at least in my read of this has to do with the tyranny of the minority, the tyranny of the majority, that you're trying to make sure that people, even if in my state, like, I hate the way that they act, but at the federal level, at least I can vote for somebody that's going to take me to the place that I want to go to. And if you put an executive in that doesn't have any authority, and remember, this was the hotly contested thing when they were deciding to ratify the Constitution, was they didn't want a king, but they also didn't want an inert executive who was merely ceremonial. Mm-hmm. And so this was, again, Alexander Hamilton was really worried that we would have an executive that didn't have any ability to get anything done. And so he really pushed for that, and that got ratified. That's the other thing. I've got to read the Federalist Papers. Must.
Super chat.
Let's go.
Super chat from
Super chat.
Mr. G II. As neurological experience person, read Adam's book, Reframe Your Brain, and have him on, please. Worth the research and conversation. The quotes, he's racist, is crap. I'm a black guy who uses his info as much as I use yours. A ton.
Wait, who are we talking about? Who's Adam? Oh, Scott Adams?
Scott Adams.
Scott Adams wrote a book called Reframe Your Brain? Wow. All right. I'll have to check him out.
Yep.
But didn't he say some crazy shit, Drew?
I don't know who Scott Adams is. I'm sorry, guys.
Really?
No.
The Dilbert guy?
Oh, he's a Dilbert guy?
Yeah.
But
like
Dilbert.
he said some things. Chat. I'll need somebody to tell me exactly what he said. But here is a idea that rattles around the back of my mind. It was something like, oh God, I don't want to misquote him, Drew. Chat. I beg you. This is just the thing that's rattling around in the back of my head. I don't know that this is true.
You right now what he said.
I've never. Oh, can you?
In a video on YouTube, Scott Adams, who is white, said Black Americans were part of a hate group and that white people should get the hell away from them.
Wow.
And then
that
the
was
Dilbert
the thing rattling around in the
dropped.
back of my head. So I'm sure there's context, but that doesn't seem great.
Well, Mr. G just spoke for all black people, so I feel like he ipso facto did already. And that was me being sarcastic.
I was gonna say, Drew. Okay, so I've got
Mr. G said in the chat, he's rebuttaling. He said he got taken out of context. Again, I'm black, and you have to have context.
You keep saying you're black. The more you say you're black, the less I'm believing you're black. Sorry, and it's not like a Joe Biden, you're not black if you don't vote for me thing. It's you have a cartoon like profile pic. There's like Twitter got exposed over the pandemic. I don't know if you saw this part of Twitter because there was a lot of people that had black profile pics, but they were white people.
Oh,
so
for real?
They were like cosplaying as different things.
In all segments of Twitter. Like,
and I'm sure there's somebody cosplaying as an Asian person and all types of
things. Okay,
but
wait.
But like,
am I racist if I buy a black skin in Fortnite?
I'm going home, everybody.
That's
I'm sorry.
All right, we're cutting the stream short.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Nope. We are going to answer that question.
What in the
Where we at?
world?
Where we at? Am I racist if I not only buy but play as a black character in Fortnite? Answers, please.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking
I
about here?
need answers. These motherfuckers won't give answers.
Race is a construct. Race isn't real. Race is made up.
So I'm not a racist if I play as a black character.
The term racist is made up.
So why do we have beef if somebody is a white person and they have a black avatar on Twitter?
Who has but I don't think it's that. I think it's that they were culturally and pretending to be the exact race and also saying things that are not.
Look at Eunice.
So you're saying your beef.
I have to say it. Just
I was on Twitter. I saw it.
So you're saying
just
your
emotionally
beef is-
intelligent. Look at you over there. Look
Hold on. If it's a construct, why do we care?
That race is a construct. Yes, cultures are not. So that's like if I was to have a profile pic of a dude in a cowboy hat and I had a Theo Vaughn accent and I was like, hey man, me and my truck and we gonna do and I want to live in the trailer and I love country music, and that's not who I am. I'm making fun of that group of people. That's not.
So you think they were making fun of them?
How they were using, there's this thing like people think Ebonics is just like broken English, but it's like a language. Just like Patois is broke, like in Jamaica is broken. Like, so there's a way to use certain like Ebonics and culturally nuanced words and sentences. The way they were constructing their tweets, they were cosplaying. It was the digital equivalent of blackface. Like,
right?
No, in the sense that
But
I'm going to say inflammatory things. I'm going to argue points against black people in certain spaces. I'm using this as a cover so that way I can infiltrate those spaces and then say disparagingly things. So it's not that somebody just wants to be a black person and they made a Twitter and they just reply to stuff. There are those that count too. Adam 22 got a whole podcast about that. But it's different when you're actively trolling that community as if you were one of those people from the community.
I agree.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about my initial question, which was if I play as a black Fortnite character, you guys have no beef with it. That's what I'm taking away. Even though for some weird reason you guys won't just say
because
that's
it's
not
different.
problematic.
It's different. It's because
Say the words it's not problematic so that
not
I don't feel
problematic.
bamboozled.
it's not problematic. It's
It's
not
not
Okay,
problematic.
there we go.
It'd be different. Okay, let's say you're doing that in Fortnite, right? You squat up with 3 other random people who don't know you.
Guys, I understand the difference between what you're saying. I wanted to
I just don't want to have to return my skids. That's what I mean.
No. I wanted to figure out, I'm trying to map the way that you guys see this.
Yeah.
I'm not confused. I'm trying to understand. So you've got, there are different buckets, at least according to what you just said. So there's somebody who's like, oh, that skin's dope. Doesn't matter if it's black, racist construct. Then you've got people that I admire this thing, which happens to be in this case, race. And so I want to cosplay as that, but I'm not doing it to troll. Like I really, there's something aspirational about this for me. And then I'm just fucking with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you only have beef with I'm just fucking with you?
Yes.
You feel good about Rachel Dolezal?
And Jack Harlow and
Jack Harlow gets it. Where are we at with
Taylor.
Eminem?
No, Post Malone.
Post Malone.
Where are we at with Eminem?
Eminem never wanted to be black.
We sure about that?
Yeah, just because he rapped. Rap isn't a
But-
black thing, Tom.
Hold on. Has he not said when I was a kid? I could be crazy. Maybe I'm misremembering. But if you grow up and everybody around you is one way, I would be a little shocked if at some point he wasn't like, I wish I fit in, meaning I wish I were also black. But you don't have any beef with that because he grew up in that area.
It's not that I have beef.
Because he talks with what I'll call an accent.
I have more beef with Aquafina's black scent than I have with Eminem's.
Interesting.
If we really want to talk about it.
I guess we do. I'm so shocked by this.
Yeah, no. Eminem has been
But
Eminem.
You don't like that she does it because Eric's trying to get us back on track here.
No, that was me. That was me.
Oh, you
I'm-
have a fractal button?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
And I also have a super chat.
Mr. G too. Let's talk about it. Let's
go.
talk about it. He's saying Drew is hella confused. Can black people be racist? Okay. Because that's like there's like different levels of this argument. I hate that you put me in these spaces. Okay. Racism, this is Andrew talking, was established as America's version of a caste system. So it's completely artificial. Just like peasants weren't better than kings and kings weren't better than peasants. Everybody's a human being. They should have equal rights. They should be together in that. America's version of that caste system happened with race. Because of the Haitian Revolution, after the Haitian Revolution, that was the first time in any new society that there were slaves of the oppressed people and free of the oppressed people all mixed together. So there were poor white people who were slaves. There were rich white people. There were rich black people who weren't slaves. There were poor black people who were slaves. And they started to realize that the poorer class, the race class, overwhelmed the higher majority. That's what led to the slave revolt. It completely broke bad. So then when America came, it then became anybody who is this color automatically now is a slave. There is no like good ones. Even in places like Massachusetts and up in the North, although slavery was outlawed, they were still second-class citizens. We were still 3/5 according to the Constitution. All that is just made up. It's people writing something and saying that. So when black people say black people can't be racist, they're coming from that standpoint of they don't have the institutional power to make somebody 3/5 of something, so they can't. Can black people be prejudiced? Can they be exclusionary? Can they be mean? Yes, all those things are still very much true. But that's the whole like black people can be racist, can't be racist.
So in a single word, yes or no, black people can be racist.
Yes, black people can be racist.
Okay, just making sure that I tracked. I was trying to look up if black people counted as 3/5 in the North, but man, I'm doing something wrong with my chat recently because it is slow as hell for simple questions. So I don't know what's going on.
Manny said, if you favor your race more than others, is that the definition of racism? No, it's being exclusionary to other races that don't look like yours. So there are white people who are racist against other white people. There are black people who are racist against other black people.
Interesting.
There are black people who think white is better. There's white people who think black is better. There's Asians who want to be black people. There's Asians who think they can say the N-word. There's a bunch of different. It mixes.
Blackpink.
Eric, I love you for that.
What did Eric say?
Eric was just like, yep, he knows exactly what I was talking about. But it's not just a black and white one-way thing. So yes, I need to understand how my race came into question, Drew. I just didn't like how you spoke for all black people, Mr. G, because I don't speak for all black people, and I don't think Tom speaks for all white people. I don't think you.
In fairness to Mr. G, I didn't take that he was trying to speak for all black people. He was just saying I am black, and this is how I feel about it. And given that you guys are saying it does matter if somebody's cosplaying as black because they are interpreted differently in that space, that felt like a very legitimate thing for Mr. G to point out. And given that we're talking about Scott Adams, who even in my mind, and I know nothing about him, but in my mind, he is mapped as racist. So, which is terrible, I know, because I've not looked into it myself, but humans label things quickly for easy placement, and it just is what it is. 72 would have you believe that I'm the spokesperson for all white people. I have a bad feeling that white people will not agree with that. It's interesting. I never really thought of myself as a quote unquote white person. The whole race thing really caught me off guard.
When did you find out that you were white? When did you learn that you were white?
Does dad know? Listen, I'm not saying that I wasn't aware of it. I'm just saying that I was lucky enough to be born of the generation where it was just like Martin Luther King was right. And so my parents raised me that you judge somebody by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And so that was just like, oh, okay, cool. You will become what is instilled in you as a kid. So that to me was whatever. And crazy enough, because I grew up in Tacoma, which didn't have like a massive amount of variety, but my friend group had a lot of variety in it. So I just grew up being like one of the black guys that I was closest with my entire life was so much smarter than me. So I was just like, okay, like I mapped to this guy's really fucking smart. So it never occurred to me to have any negative take on black people. I grew up Charlie Lee, who was Korean. I'm talking his house smelled like kimchi. I used to go over to his house all the time. So I was just like he wasn't like 7th generation Korean. He was like, I can't speak to his parents because they don't speak English Korean. Mm-hmm. And Charlie was the best artist that I knew. He was a computer science guy before they existed. He taught me how to connect to the internet. I fucking love these guys. So yeah, I just never really thought about it. So God bless it. And then way later in life, when like BLM kicks off, all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what's happening? I realized at that point I wasn't in the America I thought I was in because I just never had to think about it. I was so heads down building businesses. BLM caught me off guard in a way that I wouldn't know how to articulate. I had no idea that there had been this like growing resentment for a long time. Just didn't know. Remember, I big brothered for an African-American kid for 8.5 years, man. I was in his life. I was in the inner cities of South Central Los Angeles. I was surrounded by that culture a lot. So just wasn't, it wasn't the way that I parsed the world. And then at Quest, it was all Hispanics all the time. So I feel like, I mean, when people are inviting you to their daughter's quinceañera and stuff, you're you're around the culture. I was not of the culture, but I was around the culture. And so I feel like I've been around a lot of these cultures, a lot, but like in a super intimate, on the ground way, in your house kind of way. And it just wasn't the way that I parsed it.
So what I heard from that was that the awareness of racial disagreements started around 2020.
My awareness that was going in what I'll call the wrong direction.
That's like a thing.
Obviously, you hear about it, you see it in movies. Like, you know that there's this thing called racism.
But something that affected your life personally was until BLM.
Even then, I wouldn't say it affected my life personally. Like,
put it in your awareness that you
I became aware that there was a battle happening in culture that I was like, what the fuck? I was astonished to see that racism wasn't declining, that it was moving in the opposite direction.
You think racism is increasing right now?
It felt like in 2020 that racism was like on a almost vertical line.
Wow.
Compared to where it was growing up for me, where everybody just agreed you don't judge people by their race. If anybody in any direction was judging somebody by their race, everyone would have looked at them like they had roaches on their face, at least in the universe that I operated in.
My daughter in preschool, she's 4 years old, comes home one day and says, I'm only allowed to go to this school because so-and-so said I can be free. Because another little girl at this school told Lynn that if it wasn't for white people, she would still be a slave.
God damn.
At 4?
At 4.
Did Lynn point out I would have never been a slave?
At 4 years old. No, because she was 4, Tom.
I know, I'm kidding. Like, that obviously a crazy belief. But now, hey, maybe that was happening and I just somehow, some way never saw it.
It was not a comparison thing. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that in the lives of black children, their awareness of racial disagreements, I'm gonna use the same word, happens a lot earlier. And I'm sure there's a bunch of different people in this chat that can talk about their experiences from across the spectrum. Again, there's people who are Mexican who were treated differently. Jews were treated differently. If you go to an all-white town, the Jews become the lower class person and they get picked on and things like that. So by no means are black people the only person in the Impression Olympics allowed to be sad. But it's just interesting to kind of see how that plays out through different cultures, that some people are made aware of their race and their status in society a lot sooner, unsolicited. They were in preschool. And while others they don't have that realization until later on in life. And just, I'm interested in what that does to the mind, what that does to the brain, how that can affect people. Now, I'm a hands-on father, so I did my best to mitigate a lot of those things and tell her that that thing isn't real. And no matter what, get so good so that blues can't block dunks. But at the same time, there's people who've gone through that who don't have that support system. And I wonder how that can impact their mentality and why they grow up and what do they look like when they're 30, when they're 40, and what are the parents that told that kid that in 2017? What are they thinking and what kind of...
What do you take away from I can't remember if it's Morgan Freeman or Denzel Washington, but one of them when asked, how do we make race less of a problem? They just said, stop talking about it.
That could work.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that just seems like the obvious answer. You become what you repeat. If you obsess over race, it's going to become this glowing orb of importance. So for me, as an
So you think if we just stop talking about it, that would fix it?
I think if you stop talking about it, it starts moving in the right direction. So all I can tell you is what it was like growing up for me in Tacoma, which again is not like this wildly racially diverse place. So you would expect that anybody that was out of the norm would just have gotten clobbered. But my friends, and maybe they were just like, Tom is such a glowing orb of racism that we can't bring it up to him. I would be very shocked if that was the retelling, but they never talked about it. They never were like, oh my God, I'm being discriminated against. People are being mean to me. Literally never. And that was a time where it felt like, just like anti-Semitism for a hot minute was like, dude, if you were anti-Semitic, people were going to come after you. Like, that was crazy. People didn't tolerate that shit. You were an outcast. Not anymore. That's how I feel with generalized racism. When I was a kid, that would have been like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And now it's like, that somebody would say that to Lynn, that's crazy. That's crazy. So all I can say is it feels like we're moving in the wrong direction. As somebody that's got almost 50 years clocked on this earth, I can tell you, used to feel different, used to feel better. Now it doesn't feel great.
With predictive validity in mind, what other societal problems do you think go away by not talking about them?
The reason that I rewrote the intro for China is because to reinforce the negativity is going to accelerate a collision with China, just the way that we talk about it. If I go on air every day and I'm like, hey guys, fuck China, they're trying to hold us down, that's very different than saying, hey guys, we do have to realize that we live in a world of great powers and we have to be very thoughtful that we're careful that, hey, viewing them as a rival, fine. Viewing them as an adversary, that escalates tensions already. We have to be very careful about that. So I want to live in a world where we recognize that whatever we repeat matters, and you will amplify the very thing that you repeat. And at all levels, so this is why in my marriage, we don't say the word divorce. We literally don't say it. In fact, it's almost weird saying it to you because in our house, we call it the D word. And Lisa and I agreed very early that we would never make jokes about breaking up. They're funny. When I hear other people do them, I'm like, that shit is hilarious. And I'm sorry that you're about to get divorced, because if you're reinforcing that over and over and over, and I get it, it's like a release valve to make that joke. But the problem is, as you make that joke, you just open that idea wider and wider in your mind. So I could keep going. There are going to be a litany of things where you don't solve the problem. Like, we don't stay together because we don't mention the word divorce. There's a whole bunch of other things that we have to do. But I understand that by mentioning divorce all the time, if I'm constantly saying that China is a villain and they're doing something evil, then my mind will map that these guys are fucking evil. In fact, when I was talking to Mike Baker, I didn't get a chance to push him on this. Talking to Mike Baker, he said something, I can't remember now what it was. And it was about China and espionage and how, and I remember now what it was. And the Chinese will target Chinese people. So Chinese nationals will target Chinese Americans and say, hey, this is really about the motherland. And they will use that as an exploit. And I was like, oh shit. If we start putting that idea out there, everyone's going to look sideways at every fucking Chinese American, fucking 8 generations deep. They're not going to give a shit. They're just going to be like, yep, you're a fucking target. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Now, I don't want to blind myself to things that are true, but I also don't want to be putting people in a fucking concentration camp like we did in World War II with the Japanese. So, God damn, like, you really do have to be careful about what you allow yourself to repeat. So you're going to hear me say a lot, I'm worried about China, blah, blah, blah. But you're also going to hear me go way the fuck out of my way to say Chinese have done incredible things. They have incredible engineers. They want to do beautiful things. They want to love their fucking family, man. Like, don't lose sight of these are just rad people trying to do rad things in their country. And I want to see us with the energy of, I want to do rad things. I don't want to see us with the energy of, fuck these guys. They're a bunch of cheats, all that. You can't pretend that they don't have a history of stealing IP. But at the same time, if you're just a dick that fucking maps them as like thieves and fucking spies, egads.
Egads. It was brought up earlier in the chat. As I pull up our next topic, if you were a superhero, who would you be? Somebody said
That's a hard
Spider-Man.
pivot.
Somebody said you'll be a supervillain and called you the Joker.
Me? Really?
I'm
Yeah,
the Joker,
interesting.
baby.
I don't know. Maybe we do a poll or something. I don't know. Who do you guys think?
Do we want to know?
Who do you think
Tom
you are?
is bipolar.
Oh.
That is a surprising take.
Somebody said Mystique. That's a
on
good
me.
one.
Interesting.
Because you embody other people's like arguments.
Yeah, but I don't shapeshift. So I like to believe,
You're not
man,
blue
no
either.
matter where you bump into me, you'd be like, oh, that guy's the same everywhere he goes. Maybe I'm delusional. We'll see. It'll certainly be enlightening to figure out how people see me, but you'd have to give them options. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
the poll is too long. So
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be Batman, hence the set. But I mean,
Like, what would I choose?
yeah.
The reason I would probably I'd have to think about it. The default great answer is Batman because he doesn't have superpowers, but he uses his intellect, discipline, will to get good. but I'm so much more drawn to Japanese style storytelling that for it to really feel fun, I'd have to really think about it. But yes, default answer.
So
Batman.
Japanese storytelling meaning you'll be like, I forgot what your number one anime was.
Well, that unfortunately is not going to tell you much about what I think about
He's gonna be
superheroes.
All Might.
But it would be Neon Genesis Evangelion. My only problem with All Might is he's losing his powers, so that's not aspirational to me.
As you
Now,
get
would I
older-
be Deku? Maybe. Like that's a kid that really wants it, but I think he's on a dark arc right now. I'm so far behind. I'd have to watch. So anyway, for just to understand mentally how I think about superheroes, Batman's a great answer.
If you do Batman though, you gotta have the Batman voice. Shout out to Ribsy.
Yeah, I don't have a Batman.
The Christian
voice, right?
Bale. who
Yeah.
kept
Oh,
talking
that
like
was always the
this.
thing I hated about that.
Kept talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the future of business.
No super chat, by the way.
Oh, super chat.
that we
Let's
missed
go.
earlier.
Super chat.
From Brutus
Astro
Lugo. Brutus says, does it matter to you that Eric Weinstein theory of everything isn't peer reviewed? Why are you trying to understand something that has yet to hold up to scrutiny? Are you able to refute his conclusions? This is why we need experts.
Okay, so experts versus arguments. That's probably the most interesting thing to talk about here. So Eric Weinstein is a great example of why I am skeptical of experts versus the actual arguments. So in business, you want to get experts in. The reason you want to get experts in is they're going to help you map cause and effect. But the experts are the finger and not the moon. So one of the most important ideas in life is never confuse the finger pointing at the moon for the moon that it's pointing at. That's very important. An expert is simply an indicator of cause and effect. They're saying, I understand the cause and effect of this situation better than you, and therefore I would be a high utility tool for you to use. The problem has become that we now think experts are the thing. Experts are not the thing. And so if you're able to map, in fact, your goal really should be to map cause and effect better than the expert, but you leverage them to get that sequence of cause and effect. Great. Eric is saying, hey, the very thing that I'm trying to get across is I have mapped cause and effect better than anybody else. And given that everybody else is stalled out, and he's saying, if you understand what I'm putting forward, there are things that we can do in the universe that we can't previously. One, there's excitement behind that. So I just get excited to be like, oh man, somebody's got something new. This is exciting. This is the same reason why if there were compelling evidence about aliens, dude, I'd be all over it. Like I find myself drifting into wanting to learn more about that planet that's putting out that gas. I was watching some shorts about it the other day. I just get really into that. I want to get really into the Graham Hancock of it all. I've read a couple of his books, but I find that really interesting. The idea that there might be these lost civilizations. So that kind of stuff is just compelling to me. So I think Eric has sort of the best PR. Eric is also, he is by far the smartest person I've ever spent time with personally. I'm not saying that there aren't smarter people, but I am saying like when you're alone with him, I mean, Jesus, you can get this from his Twitter feed. But one of the things, like if I were going to, I can't remember if when asked how I explain what I think intelligence is if I included this, but part of intelligence is processing raw data quickly, which he does obscenely fast. And then the other part is the ability to have distinctions of nuance. So if you imagine my wife, I'm not kidding about this, can probably see like 150 gradients of gray, and I see like 4. And the same thing happens intellectually, that you just understand like these really finely tuned nuances between things that are very similar. And he's able to do that extraordinarily well. So anyway, it is extremely fruitful to have long, deep conversations with Eric Weinstein if you're trying to interface with the world in a way that moves you forward. He's been unbelievably useful to me. So given how much value he's brought to my life, even if the world is like, oh, this idea of Eric's is dumb, I'm like, well, I've gotten a lot out of Eric. And so boy, would I like to understand this. But I'm ultimately just trying to build up a sense of cause and effect. So Eric is not the end game. The idea is the end game, the cause and effect of it all. And so what I'm going to try to do, which admittedly, I don't know that I have the intellectual capability to actually understand it. But I really want to try. So it'll be fun. And so I shall, and I'll report back if I can figure it out. Otherwise, I'll interface with it like a sci-fi writer, which is always my fallback when I can't actually understand something. But I'm like, ooh, I understand this enough that it gives me ideas for stories. So that'll be fun.
Nice. 2 questions for you.
Yep.
The first is a statement. I lied. Jude said, there are more ways to shuffle a deck of cards than atoms in the universe.
Oh,
Yet
We're back to
somehow,
that.
in all the cosmic chaos, the odds still brought me to you. Not just once, but twice. Show magic trick.
damn.
Jude's got
Who
game.
said that?
got
Who
you.
said
Jude's got game.
that? That's crazy.
She's going to need your Tinder handle.
Jude's got
she's gotta take a
game.
look, Jude.
No, no.
A1.
that's-
That was an A1 setup. I'm
That was
into it.
good.
I'm into it. Next question. If you were a wrestler and you were coming out, what's your walkout song?
I think it's Prime Time from Watch the Throne. I'd have to hear it again. I always get the titles confused. But I'm pretty sure it's Prime Time. I actually did walk out to one of the songs from Watch the Throne. And I remember the guy was like, really? Like, put it on, bro. I was like, because I think by the time I get on the stage, you stop before you get to some of the like harder core stuff. But he's like, okay. And I walked out to it. No beef. Another one would be Remember the Name from Fort Minor. If you guys know who Fort Minor is, it's a side project from Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park fame. That song is awesome. Oh my God, I love it so much.
He had a song with Lupe that
What's
went
it
crazy.
called? Remember the name?
Remember the Name. It's really
Like
good.
Fort Myers Project. That was good.
Oh man, I enjoyed it so much. And I actually met Mike Shinoda once, and I was like, anybody ever tell you you look like that guy from Fort Minor? I thought it was such a dope opening. He laughed. At least got a laugh.
He laughed.
Drew. If I met him now, he'd be like, who the fuck are you? But yes, that was fun.
All right, let's talk about the future of business. Microsoft
Take 2. We tried.
really Microsoft released a white paper the year the frontier firm is born. This is on the backs of them releasing all their AI agents. So at this point in time, in 2025 today, you can build an AI agent that is a data analyst. You can build an AI agent through Copilot that's a researcher. And these are fundamental jobs. Before I got into media, I was like a data analyst. So there are already fundamental jobs in business that are falling away.
I need to know more about the data analyst after this. We don't have to talk about it on camera, but I'm going to need to test that.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this, though, is that these human agent teams will upend the org chart. And this is them proposing that it would be 4 people who have 2,000 agents under them. And that's how they run their org charts.
Yeah.
Or one person builds the business and passes it to AI who implements certain things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting that like Microsoft, the most business software is like, oh yeah, there's going to be companies with 4 people and that's the future.
There's nobody with even a modicum of intelligence is trying to fight against AI. You're just trying to be the one that introduces it in a better way that will mop up as many people as possible. Because what they know is it doesn't matter that you're starting a company with 4 people. They know that there will be 8 million people starting a company with 4 people. And so this is why I need a better analogy because it's hard to explain to people. I think of all the companies now that exist as a sheet of glass. And right now it's not one sheet of glass, but there's a very limited number of these big sheets of glass. A lot of big companies that mop up most of the employees, that mop up most of the revenue. That series of sheets of glass are going to be dropped and they're going to shatter into a gazillion little companies. And at Impact Theory University, we have 2 paths. We have the really profitable one, which is for people scaling a business. So you're making $1 million or more and you want to scale up. Cool. We've had people making hundreds of millions of dollars come to get me to help grow their business. And the guy here that runs it, Will, is like, dude, will you stop fucking around with the other side, which is what we call zero to founder. Somebody that's never started a company before. The profit margins are stupid, so bad. And Will's just like, please, 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 every minute that you spend on zero to founder, you're not spending over here where we're making money hand over fist. And I'm like, Will, when I look into the future, all I see, as far as the eye can see, is fucking people going from, I've never started a company before, and now I have to start a company because nobody's hiring. Everybody has to do their own thing. And so I'm like, until that thesis falls apart, even though the margins are smaller, this is where I actually get mad at myself. I cannot help, but I am driven by helping people, even though I really try to give up.
I'm driven by helping people.
Yep.
Even though I try to give up.
Uh-huh. Why? Yeah, anyway, I'll derail us. I'll stop there.
So with the fractal. So Chess King said, my cursor's going crazy. Well, we are fighting against it by not Manhattan projecting it and fighting for it. We are losing the war. China is currently winning. Talking about leveraging AI. I'm with you, Chess King. I feel like this needs to be a Manhattan project. I think we should have a lab of AI scientists underground with a blank check from the government. Chess King came back and said this is going to be stronger than nukes, and we need half of our GDP dedicated to it. I don't know if we need half our GDP.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well, Chess King is not being vague. So, Chess King, I appreciate you standing on it. Inega. God, I love that woman so much. Yeah. Baby, it's the weekend. We're about to have some time. Let's go.
Sheesh.
Let's go, man.
Hide the kids, everybody.
Let's go. Dude, I'm telling you, man, invest in your relationships, boys and girls. They will serve you well.
There's
no way DARPA isn't working on it, Drew. So says Ducey Jones.
But are we though? I don't trust
I don't
like,
trust the government.
Yeah.
I want to see them deregulate so that companies can really do their thing. That's where I want to be.
What are your takes on the IP laws thing? Because they're saying that's the new glass ceiling of AI.
If you've put it into the public domain, it's fair game.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm a guy's. The thing I'm doing right now means that AI will be trained on the way that I'm talking. It means that it will take something away from me that I would otherwise be able to control. I'm putting my fucking money where my mouth is. So.
Oh, you mean public domain, like on the internet? Not
yeah,
public
they
domain,
should be able to crawl the shit out of it. Okay. They should be able to train.
If it's on the .com, it should be open.
Yeah, if you are broadcasting it out into the world and it is not behind a paywall, it is fair game. The only thing that I think, where I think you want to control this is not at the level of training, it's at the level of output. So, Coyotes at the air gap. No one should be able to put something out that says this is Coyotes at the air gap. Should they be able to do something in the style of Coyotes at the air gap? Of course they should. Just like I should be able to do something in the style of Pixar or Disney. Because you're putting it out in the world. And I'm not going to say the way that you do your lines, I can't do. Fuck you. Like, I've learned from your art and I'm going to do it. And if the public goes, oh, gross, this is too much like Miyazaki. Okay, cool. Then the world has said, we want something new. Don't fucking copy. This isn't interesting. Great. The world will smack me down. If the world's like, word, we just love the style. We want more shit in it. Awesome. But I should not be able to bill it as this is... Miyazaki, this is Ghibli. I shouldn't be able to use their characters. None of that. But the style of, yeah, of course.
I have a confession. I don't want y'all to judge me right now. So when everybody was doing like the Ghibli memes on AI, this girl on Twitter posted her boyfriend and they were like kissing and she like Ghiblified it. And I had like an emotional reaction to it. Like I like saved it to my phone. Like it's I know it's a real couple. It's like it was my background. It's my background now. I'm gonna be honest. It's a beautiful image. It looks like a real cartoon. It makes me want to write a romantic comedy animated like.
You know this person?
I love this.
It motivated me. They were just somebody who they weren't even on my following. They were on my For You, like the random. And I literally have the background of these two people kissing, but
right
it was beautiful.
Still right now?
I do.
I like everything
Put it on
about
the camera.
this.
I still right.
Let's go.
Oh.
At a minimum,
Hide
I
the
want to see it.
notifications. Do not disturb.
This is like a beautiful picture.
That is a beautiful picture.
It's a beautiful
I get
picture.
why you like that.
I don't know which camera to put it, but it's a nice camera. I'll drop it in.
Put it up again. Put it up again. I can't.
It's good.
I feel like it's a nice picture. It looks cute.
I think you have to hold it up by your face.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like look, and I have a privacy screen.
We can't. It's,
Yeah, okay.
It's
It's gone dark. It's
We'll
gone dark.
superimpose it.
Let's superimpose it.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
But-
It is, yeah.
So it's like I feel. I'm glad that I was inspired in that way by it. It gave me an emotional reaction. That's
Yup.
art, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But to your point, I would never then make that movie in that style and be like, oh, this is a Ghibli film. Me and Miyazaki wrote it together. Like that should be the line. So to me, gatekeeping the IP, I get why I shouldn't be able to make a Spider-Man movie.
100%.
But you can't be mad that I'm making a comic, or you can't be mad that I'm making an anime. So that's kind of my line. I get where it comes down to.
Agreed, man. Script Kitty, thank you. That's very nice.
Yup.
Yeah.
But okay, Wolfgang.
Amadeus Mozart? Sorry.
Oh.
Did a Tourette say?
That's it.
I lost this question. He was basically saying, do these glass panel companies grow the economy? Is it better for the economy? Is it better to have 2,000 software companies run by 4 people than to have a Microsoft?
Do you want the actual question?
Yeah, I don't know where it went.
So does this strengthen the economy to have lots of small businesses and fewer big box?
Thank you, sir.
I think that the world is going to change so dramatically. It would be worse if it wasn't for AI, but AI is going to be so extraordinary. You now have all this unleashed potential where everybody would do something slightly different. I think it is worse for ambitious people trying to create something, and I'll explain why in a minute, and it's better for the consumer. And then ultimately, I think we go post-capitalist, and that's definitely going to be better for all of us that buy things. Okay, why is it worse for the ambitious builders? It's worse for the ambitious builders because you are going to be taking on all the risk. You're going to have all of that stress of having to build and create something. And I think companies are going to pop in and out of existence like bubbles in a bubble bath. Like you're just part of the foam. You blink out of existence. Nobody notices. There's going to be none of this staying power. So you can already look at if you got on the S&P 500 back in the 60s, you were likely to stay on the S&P 500 for an average of 67 years. That number is now 16 years, and they expect it to keep dropping. So growing as a company is no longer a sign of longevity. And so that's brutal. And I think when it's a 4-person company, they will nail a moment and then it will go away. And this is like a TikToker that has one viral smash that does 350 million views, and then they're never able to replicate it. And some people will be able to, but I think most people will not. So running a company is extremely stressful.
Comment from Wally in the chat. What's up, Wally? You have
Wally. What's up, brother?
You have every right to make anything in public style all you want. The issue with AI that needs discussion is, do you have the right to let machines photocopy that style based on just a prompt?
Yes. Yes, indeed you do. You just, you ought not, like, here's the thing you shouldn't be allowed to do. Somebody films something and you then use that, like you take that shot and you say, just turn this into a different style, and then you release it as if you created it. That would be ass. And I see people aren't monetizing it now, so it's not a big deal. But if somebody were going to monetize, like, oh, what I did was I took the underlying, like, this is actually a shot from Jurassic Park, and I just made the dinosaur a big chicken, and now I'm selling that movie. That I think is, you can't do that. So just like you can't sample a song without paying people, it would be like that. If you're going to use the underlying shots, you should have to pay. But if you're just using the style of that thing, or you're taking that shot, feeding it into AI, and you're saying, hey, I want the camera to move something like this, but I want it to be in this universe, this shot, whatever, that's totally fair game.
It was interesting that both Jack and Elon retweeted that they want IP taken out.
Yeah, that one I couldn't understand. These are guys that I was like, from a media perspective, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe in the realm of atoms, like there's something there.
What do you mean by atoms?
Like it's a physical thing. And so now you can do so much of it through trade secret, because trust me, Elon isn't saying, I'm going to tell you how I do everything.
Yeah.
There are going to be things where he's like, nope, nobody is going to know how we do this. Absolutely not, hard pass. And in the world of media, there's nothing. Like you might not see my process in terms of how I made the thing, but you will see the outcome. And so if I create Mickey Mouse, maybe you don't know how I drew him. But if you can run off and do a movie starring Mickey Mouse, which you would be able to do if there was no IP protections, that's crazy. Then you literally have no way to capture, like if you create something that people care about, you can't capture the upside of that. So that's, I don't even understand the argument. That's crazy.
Jaron, by the way, said, I don't believe that capitalists will allow post-capitalist society because they believe in private property rights over human rights.
Well, that's a strange read to me, Jaron. So it will go like this. Capitalists are extremely selfish and they will do whatever makes them money. And the thing that will make them money and the way that they will compete with people is they will have to make things cheaper, more open, et cetera, et cetera. That will be the way that they break the back of the big companies that have walled gardens. And so you make money by adding value to somebody's life as long as you don't get into monopolistic practices. And so they will just keep making it cheaper and more accessible. Now, will there be a ton of strife as we migrate to that world? Yes. I don't know how many people will die, but it won't be zero.
It
doesn't mean we don't have
private property a human right?
Private property is...
I don't know.
It isn't technically a human right.
It's
because it can be taken away from you. That was a weird way to say that, because life can be taken away from you. I'd have to really sit down and map out what makes something an inalienable right, but I'll give you rough swags right now. Life, freedom, not to have your mind controlled, the ability to pursue the things that you want to do that don't impinge on other people's freedoms. I mean, you could probably get pretty close just by enumerating the rights in the Constitution. But the reason that so much of capitalism is built on property rights, which is absolutely critical, is that I have this thing and I now own it and it can't be taken from me, not by government, not by anybody else. And that allows people to create financial momentum. And that is 100% what you need to do. This is exactly why people that were victims of discrimination are like, fuck all of you, because you have been able to build on the back of the momentum that even if it's just your great-grandfather was able to own property, and even if his kids squandered all that money, his kids got educated, so they educated their kids, so they educated their kids. And that alone is such a leg up, but that's all on the back of private property. You don't want people to be able to take your shit, not the government, not anybody. Like, that's crazy that people would ever vote against that, but they do. And yeah, read about Mao's China, please. Read about Stalin's Russia. It's just when you violate people's property rights, everything deranges.
The Color of Law is another one about eminent domain and how certain highway systems and things ran right through communities to split them up and break them up and get people to move. So
yeah, people are crazy.
People going people.
That they are, Drew. That
somebody put, okay, this is a facetious question, but I actually want to walk through this. So
let's go.
Sci-fi writer hats on, tinfoil hats on, all the disclaimers.
My favorite hats.
But somebody said, Pedro P, in your post-capitalist world, who gets the house and the keys on the Gulf side with ocean access? When we think of capitalism, we think of acquiring capital. We think of the rich people buying a nice thing, and people who can't afford it living in subservient like quarters.
Yeah.
In post-capitalism, what do the housing look like? What does insurance look like? Like what do the haves and have-nots look like in a post-capitalist world?
Okay, so the view is the hard one because there's only going to be so many properties that have views, so that will be a somewhat finite thing. Mm-hmm. But it will be so much less finite than people think. That now humans will squabble over things, and again, the getting to what I'm about to describe is going to be difficult. But all of the costs in your life come down to essentially one of two things. Either labor, which is a function of energy and someone willing to do it, and scarcity. And so if you solve for one, it will have a huge impact on scarcity, but we will still want, because there are algorithms running in the human mind that dictate it to be so, but that will go way, 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 way down. So because more people, like if you have free labor, more people will just keep building up. Like right now, we sort of group around where we can get utilities and things like that. But as we have our own set of like robots doing all of our bidding, and they're all free, by the way, that, yeah, I want to build over here. And so people just build. One thing I don't think people have a good mental map for is if you took all 8 billion people on the planet, they fill a geographical side, if they were just standing shoulder to shoulder, they fill a geographical space that is about 5 times the size of Manhattan. It's tiny.
Everybody?
Everybody. All 8 billion, shoulder to shoulder.
Sheesh.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
So we do not have a space problem. People will ask you to believe that we have a space problem. We do not have a space problem, especially not things that like eat up a lot of real estate, like agriculture and farming animals,
Yeah.
that takes up a lot more space. But even then, there's still a ton of empty space on the planet. So as we get smarter and more efficient with things, like we've done all kinds of stuff, like make higher yielding grain. Now there are a lot of problems with agriculture, as I'm reading the book 1493. But it's still, there's so much room for us to grow. So much room for us to grow. We do not have a population problem. We need to be careful because you could very quickly run into all the rubber plants die because they are literally all the same, like cloned rubber plant, like literally cut a piece off, plant another one, cut a piece off, plant another one, like cloned. And so if there is a disease that attacks or a blight that attacks rubber trees, that would be a real problem. So I'm not saying we don't have issues, but this is where AI comes in and you start getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And all of my prognostications about a post-capitalist world assume that there is artificial superintelligence that does not have an upper bound. If there's an upper bound, you don't get to a post-capitalist world. So anyway, the hard thing is, will people fight over views because they are limited and some are better than others? Yes, probably. Humans will fight over everything. What will it look like? Depending on how many people die on the way there, if there's not some big overturning of the apple cart on the way to this world, which there might be, but if there's not, it'll be who already has it. And so they'll be able to keep it. And other people just be like, all right, fuck it. It's not worth fighting over. When I've got robots, they can go build somewhere else. And now we're all going to go to, name the place you want to go to, farther up the California coast, which as you drive up the coast, you realize there are huge stretches that have nothing. So if you want to live in California, that would be your shtick. Or like you go to Idaho, which is huge space, Montana, whatever. So people should really focus on what's the cost of energy, what's the cost of labor. If you get those two down to zero, there's just so much less to fight about. I'm not saying people won't fight, I'm just saying it's a lot less.
Dev Z, most of men's economic pursuits is driven by scarcity of attractive women. Men are all competing for a high quality woman, and post-capitalism won't fix that.
Yes,
I'm not necessarily over-indexing on the sexy, attractive women, but I am over-indexing on humans want to pursue and they want to get bigger and they want to grow things. What do you think specifically to show that they have those possessions and the women and all these other
humans, things? All of those things are true about humans. And admittedly, I cannot clearly see the second and third order consequences. So whatever I lay out, I know is going to be wrong. But nonetheless, humans are easy to numb out. And so if you give them a lot, it's very rare. Like in this way, and maybe I'm damaged and broken. I don't want people to think that I'm cheering myself on here, but I'm very unusual in that I'm extremely wealthy and continue to work very hard. That's not typical. I've had executive assistants before that are always like, why do you work this much? Like every other executive I've worked for, they come into the office maybe once or twice a week. They've got everybody else doing the things. Like, what the fuck? And the answer for me is because I love it. So it is unusual that somebody can be both successful and hungry. So I think you're going to find that as people get that abundance and they can do whatever they want, that they'll be so busy doing the things that they want to do that's the derangement that you have to worry about. The part I worry about is loss of meaning and purpose, which will create a deep derangement in the human psyche. And then the question becomes, okay, what happens? Like, do people, as the Matrix predicts, do people reject this quote unquote utopia because they need to struggle? They need to fight against something and they just can't shake that impulse. That is very possible.
This is interesting that property right is so jarring because it's like the indigenous Americans didn't even have property rights. So to think that other Americans have property rights is crazy. I wouldn't say property is not a right. I'm one of those, like, somebody put it out there, you can't have a human right that requires the labor of others. So it's like,
yeah.
And I also don't think healthcare is a right. I think America got it and we can give everybody healthcare, but a right is an entitlement. I don't think it's necessarily an entitlement. I think we should and we ought, but
to make sure people have healthcare,
yeah,
then you should just be pushing AI.
Smart and healthy. That's the one requirement that a country should give to their citizens. They should be protected, smart, and healthy. And everything else is up to you.
Woof. Drew,
that's a bad country setup.
What's that?
That's a bad country setup. You have more.
Yes, because here is the problem. People have to be held accountable. So if I can pound my own chest here for a second, Drew.
There it is. Pound away.
After being felt up by a grown man, which admittedly is a weird experience, the doctor do all the EKG.
I was about to say, that's where you're starting with this. Okay.
Don't bury the lead.
What? In the
Literally,
I'm
both of our faces
I am at the doctor, and legitimately, you're standing there, no shirt, but you have pants, and they just sit on a chair in front of you and go, okay, pull your pants down. Bro, that is so weird. It is such a bizarre experience. So anyway, you drop trowel. He literally moves the front piece apart and then is to make sure that you're cancer free and is grinding those things.
Got it. Thank you.
Literally, had that been a date, at 1 out of 10, I do not recommend his handling skills. They were aggressive. I was not pleased.
He was not gentle.
Yeah, this is not how I like my weekends to go, doctor. So that was not ideal. But after that, they ran like the heart exams and all of that. And he was like, and I quote, "You are blessed with perfect blood pressure." And I was like, how dare you? Do you know how much I control my diet? How hard I work out to maintain that blessed low blood pressure? Dude, you get healthy by making good choices. Now, that nobody is immune to, oh shit, something you didn't see coming, you get a cancer, whatever. I'm not blaming people for that. I do remind myself that I'm in control, and if I want a different outcome, I will do something different. So that's my view on life. I don't look down on people that make different choices. But ultimately, the most important thing you can do for your health is eat right. The second most important thing would be exercise. And if you're setting up people intellectually for, you can just go to the doctor for that. The doctor's going to solve it. The government's got your back. We're going to make all your drugs free. You won't get the healthy society that you think you will. So making those things free, I can't wait for that. It's going to be amazing. And
it'll disincentivize personal responsibility.
Yeah, not even necessarily that it disincentivizes it. It just, from a frame of reference perspective, people don't think, hey, you have to own this. Nobody can do this for you. Like take Ozempic. Are you starting to hear? I don't know. I'm at the headline level. I have no idea what's going to end up being true or not. But there's new claims coming out that Ozempic shrinks heart muscle. And if it shrinks heart muscle, you could get yourself into a really bad position. So there's no free lunch. And I am a big believer. I try never to take isolated compounds. Maybe one day, maybe I should be, maybe I just haven't looked at it closely enough. But the number of times where it's like, hey, take this thing, it's so good for you. And then it's like, oops, actually, sorry, our bad, it's killing you. I'm just like, oh man, isolating compounds is not how we evolved. We evolved by eating a whole bunch of things and being hungry a lot and moving a lot. So get as close to that as you can. So anyway, I want everybody to have an army of robots that can perform surgeries, sterile surgeries in their house. They never have to worry about anything, that the robot's right there, sees you choking, it's got your back. That will be amazing and people's lives will be much better. And that's a huge improvement. But I don't think the rhetoric ought to be, don't worry, there's a robot for that.
Don't worry, there's a robot for that. That's a good way to put it.
Somebody asked, what is the perfect blood pressure, by the way?
Kayla, yeah, you're right. I think that you're mapping it wrong to billionaires. That's the sort of common parlance. I understand. The right way to look at it is if somebody is making, and by the way, she said, then hold billionaires accountable to poisoning citizens' food. This is where you want to make sure that you are being told the truth, that people are being honest about what's happening, that we are doing the research to find out what actually works, what doesn't work. This will be a huge boon with AI because it's so good at pattern recognition. But yeah, you don't want people lying. You don't want bullshit. And RFK doing his thing. I'm always a little skeptical of top down because remember, the government gave us the food pyramid, which made us all fat and sick. So you can't trust them to understand it. It's just so fucking complicated. But at least so far, the moves that I'm seeing RFK take, they feel pretty good.
Give me money or I blame billionaires. Huh. That's funny.
Yeah. That one makes me sad. All right, Drew. What else we got in the spreadsheet here, man? Got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're waffling. Okay, back to it. Oh, let's talk about India. India just went through a terror attack. And
the interesting thing about the India terror attack is how they've responded. So for those that don't know, it's a few days ago on the 22nd or 23rd. I believe it happened in Kashmir. So there's like an area between India and Pakistan, which they do not like each other at all. So they've got a beef. And when they divided the country into India and Pakistan, it is my understanding, though I'm far from a scholar on this, it's my understanding that they gave the Kashmiri region the ability to say which side you want to be on. And so they're sort of like independent, sort of. And there are these constant conflicts over who does Kashmir belong to. And there was a terrorist attack in that region. And typically, they don't go after tourists, I think is the word they keep using. And this time they did. And so with that in mind, what you're about to hear is the Prime Minister of India saying some extremely strong words.
From the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist and their backer.
Pause it. So he's a little hard to understand. The recording is bad, but he said India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist. This says their handlers. This is him typing it, but if you didn't hear that, you're forgiven. Their handlers and their backers. And then go ahead, Lenfish.
finish it up.
Yeah, because he goes even harder.
Pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism.
All right. This is how it felt after 9/11. Like, we take this very seriously and we are going to fucking find you. And I remember how I felt about that. I had that energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, find them and obliterate them. There was a sense of like, I don't know if you've ever had your place broken into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's this real weird sense when someone's been in your shit. Like, it's like, oh man, I can't even look at this the same anymore. Like, this just feels different now. That's how it felt on 9/11. It was like, fuck all these kids. Find them, hurt them, fucking kill. So I know that I have that algorithm that runs inside me that can be triggered. And that's the vibe coming out of India. So it's going to be interesting. These are both nuclear powers. So that's a little scary, but I get the energy.
And they exchanged fire earlier this morning on the disputed border of Kashmir. So tensions are soaring. They have, India has deported certain visa holders, Pakistani visa holders.
They literally gave him 48 hours to get the fuck out.
Yeah. So it wasn't completely across the board. There were certain people that were exempt, but it was a certain type of visa holders they were getting out of it. So India is reacting, but after what happened with October 7th and Israel's strong response to Gaza, do you think India is going to do something similar? Because those are spicy words. And the next day there's now gunfire across the border. Like,
I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know enough about this conflict to prognosticate in a way that is useful. So I will simply say that obviously his words are very aggressive. Mm-hmm. It's what people want to hear in a moment like that where you just can't imagine the scope of the tragedy. Now, I think, 26 people were killed, 28, something like that, and like another 20 wounded. So not on anywhere near October 11th scale. So I would imagine you're not going to get an October 11th sized response. But his words were more, well, I guess he's saying we're going to go after the terrorists. But given how quickly they moved to boot so many Pakistani visa holders, it was a bigger response than I would have expected.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's possible that this escalates. I wouldn't expect this. This doesn't feel like black ice to me. Maybe it should, and maybe that's just my ignorance of the region, but it doesn't.
Yeah, we'll keep monitoring the situation. I'm conflicted because in my personal life, I am a let go and let God. Like if somebody does me wrong, it's like, all right, it's cool, whatever. Like I know how to shake things off. But I feel like at a country level, you almost have to be, petty is the wrong word, but you have to almost be vindictive. You have to seek revenge almost to like defend yourself. So it's just, I noticed the clash of my ideals in moments like this where personally I would react differently. But as a country, I understand why you have to kind of put on that tough face and project that outward strength.
I'm going to WWE a little bit here.
Go for it.
But this is emotionally accurate, even though I know it's not literally true because I'm not a tough guy. If somebody fucked with Lynn, I go full John Wick. Like, that's my emotion. I'm not a tough guy, Drew, so I know I'm just channeling an emotion that I have. But that brings out a level of aggression in me where I walk up to irresponsible. And I remember my mom's neighbor fucked with her at one point. I did not take it well, Drew. I was like, literally, I'm going to melt this man's future legally. Now, in the end, I let go and let God, Drew, because my mom asked me to. But I was like, whoa, when people fuck with somebody that I care about, only legal. I want to be very clear. I was joking about John Wick, but I was like, I'm prepared to make bad decisions to go after this guy because don't fuck with my mother.
Yeah.
So my mom had to talk me off a ledge.
That's interesting. That it kind of, that's why I would never hold public office, because I do feel like there's certain parts of the human nature, and that like animal, they're just not developed for me in that way, that I would have to do so many uncharacteristic things for the sake of national security or.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely worry that my lack of tough guy follow through would not bode well at the national level. That's for sure. That's for sure. Because you're right. You can't fuck around.
We have a super chat from Lyrith.
Lyrith, what's up, bro? I ain't seen you in a while, man.
Our man. Lyrith, I see you in the chat. You don't need to super chat to be seen. I just want to say that. Because Lyrith has gone so hard in the paint for us.
True.
Love you, brother.
Lyra says, choose the super chat you want in Discord. Either infinity is causality or the one below it on China. Pick the one you want, pretty please.
Choose the super chat you want in Discord? Oh, so he's posted things in Discord.
Correct.
You want to read them to us?
The one about China is called China Incursions. China has committed numerous aggressive acts, from land grabs and relentless maritime intrusions to violent clashes and high-tech incursions. GPT documents all events. And the infinity is causality one is a giant essay. In all of physics, general relativity and quantum mechanics are the absolute top of empirical proven and irrefutably observed explanations of the answer to everything. Anything beyond. I
can already tell you that one I'm going to have to spend time with.
Okay.
Well, going to the China one. So, Lyrith, are you saying, because I didn't hear a question in that, it's a good place for me to start researching just how aggressive they're being. Needless to say, my default stance is we have to position ourselves such that we're not being pushed around by China, even diplomatically. Like, even if they're doing everything by the book and they're not being overly aggressive, but they are eating our lunch technologically, economically, I'm not here for that. So I'm not here to play for second place. I am here to play to win. Again, I don't want a kinetic war, and everything would be context dependent. So I know this could be used against me if things escalate, but I will say, as of right now, today, given the current context, I would have no interest in going to war. And if we lose, we lose. Meaning if we become the second place economy, it is what it is. Because I would far rather that than us be at war. But what I want to see America do is really find its groove again, stop internally fighting with each other, and let's be a culture of the best of the best of the best of the best. But that's got to start, man, with the parents. That's got to start with the school systems. Like, it's got to start with media. Listen, I will do my part on the media front to make personal responsibility, the pursuit of greatness, love and kindness, all of that, make it cool. But everybody's got to do their bit.
Seems like a long history of cyber attacks from February 2019, the Australian Parliament attack, June 2019.
So here's the only thing that I will say.
Yeah.
I believe it's very important that everybody stare nakedly at what their own country is like. This is like, I try, whenever I'm talking about Israel-Palestine, to remind myself and others that America became America through some questionable shit. And the real hard ethical question isn't, was it cool what we did to get the country? Because obviously not. The ethical question is, now that we're here, shouldn't we fight for it? Because for me, it's like, fuck yes. Just as I would expect Israel to fight for their shit. But I would not expect the world to pretend that Israel didn't run the following playbook. Hey, our historic homeland. Right now, sort of we're not the dominant ethnic group. Would they squabble on ethnic? I don't think so. But if they don't like that word, switch to cultural group, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we're not the dominant ethnic group. But we could become the dominant ethnic group. And so, hey, we just got genocided. That wasn't a lot of fun. We want our own homeland. And so we are literally going to go on a crusade to get as many people here to the homeland as we can. If you think that they didn't understand that they were importing people and that they would gain in economic power and therefore political power, you're at that. They're not fucking stupid. People aren't fucking stupid. So nobody's like, oh, whoops. Did we just get a whole bunch of people here? I didn't see it coming. If you talk to Mexicans right now that have recently come over, I bet they'd be like, yeah, I love seeing, like, let's get a whole bunch of people. Now, they're not going to be like, we're here to take over America, though I'm sure some would. That's just how it works. Like, if you're going to go en masse to another country, you're like, yeah, I want to see things my way. And so this is why countries have to be very careful about assimilation and doing things at a rate that you can digest them. So let's not pretend how we get there. But then once we're there, to me, it's a different set of rules. So all of that to say, America will have its own list of shit that we've done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We created intelligence agencies, right? Like we're the founders of it. Plane and Bike said only 14%.
Hold on really fast. If I can just address this because it's the topic I most want to talk about. Metaverse B says, Tom, the game, Project Kaizen, not being on Steam is a questionable move. Metaverse, if you can convince me, I'm here to be convinced. But this is why I'm not doing it. The game right now is not good enough. And so if we go on Steam, that's like a public vote that I have some confidence in the game. And I don't want my permanent record to start yet. That's the honest answer. So we still have a long way to go. It's getting so much better. Yay. And if I had to guess, we'll be on Steam in like a year, maybe a little bit more. Things always end up taking way longer than I expect. But there will be a point where, yes, we will go to Steam and then people can review us. We're just not that good yet. But shout out to my map builders. You guys you're amazing. You're helping us so much. The community that we do have, I love, and I couldn't love anymore. But that is all, like, I see what's happening to Marathon right now. We are not ready for that kind of scrutiny. People be like, what is this? So I'm just trying to be honest about where we are. All right. That was a fractal that literally only one person in the feed cares about, but I thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Planes and Bikes. Only 14% of China exports are to the USA. They are truly independent of USA now, while the USA is absolutely dependent on China. I love you, Planes and Bikes, but that is inaccurate. China exports 14.8% of its total exports to the United States, representing $502 billion of its global exports of $3.4
Did I misread something? Did they say 14 and you're saying 14.8?
Yes. Can I?
You're squabbling over the 0.8?
No, I'm squabbling because this share was significantly larger than the share of China's exports to other countries,
I see,
including Hong Kong and Japan. So we have the biggest share of exports. So to say, oh, they only do 14%, but because the other 86% goes to all these other countries, that's not how they work. We have the largest share.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, it matters a lot, but this is why they can be in the fight as long as they can. Mm-hmm. So...
And they, sure enough, we're talking to Japan and South Korea, so I'm sure they're trying to increase those percentages.
Yes.
JD.
That is for sure.
Tom, is American grind culture the ideal culture? It seems you support workaholism above all.
Yes. Now, I hate that you call it workaholism. I hate that you call it grind culture, but follow cause and effect. So which of the following base assumptions that I have do you disagree with specifically? Humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. Humans have offloaded much of their intelligence to the cultural layer because women still want to walk upright, so the head can only be so big at the point of birth. Humans have clawed their way to the top of the planetary dominance by offloading some of their intelligence to the cultural layer and being able to adapt in real time to whatever environment that they are born into. And what that means on a practical level is that one can garner skills in any area. Then, next very important brick, skills have utility. So acquiring a skill allows you to do a thing in the real world that other people can't do. By being able to do something in the real world that other people can't do, you're able to contribute to the good of the community that you live in and do something that you care about. But it's very important that you contribute to the group because, next base assumption, there's an algorithm running in your mind that, because we are a social creature, will make the demand of you, if you want to feel good about yourself, that you're doing something that contributes to the good of the whole. Next base assumption, that progress has been turned into a very pleasurable thing by evolution because it wants us to progress. And progress itself is a foundational pillar to human happiness. This is why gamification works so well. You can gamify just about anything by creating a sense of progress. And also, you'll notice I haven't even gotten to money yet. So all of those things have nothing to do with money. But then also, money is an incredibly powerful force. And by being able to do something in the world that other people can't do, that the world values tremendously, is exactly how you make money. And then money itself has utility and allows you to do things in life, not the least of which is shelter, healthcare, education, so on and so forth. So from a fulfillment standpoint, which is the most important, which I'll include in there, self-respect, from a just the fun of making progress, from a this has manifest value in real life because it allows me to generate money, for all of those reasons. And you get to the point where as a nation, you can't be taken advantage of by other nations because you're economically strong and you've got people that are constantly trying to up-level their skills. Now, as I've said many times, there's pathology on both sides. You can underwork, and that's pathological, and you can overwork, and that's pathological. When asked, you will hear me say things like, I work this hard because I love it. Not I work this hard because I have some damage in my psyche. I work this hard because when I step back and go, what's the most enjoyable, fulfilling, self-respect inducing thing that I can do based on a lot of years of history? The answer is, as long as I'm in pursuit of something that I absolutely love the act of failing at, obviously I prefer winning, but I ask myself the question every day, what would I do and love every day, even if I were failing? I'm failing at video game development in that we don't make money yet. I'm failing in telling my stories in that they're not good enough yet. I mean, that's certainly just an easy way to start with it. But getting good at it is so enjoyable. And I think if I can pull it off, that it will be advantageous to people just on the level of entertainment, but we'll also have ideas that will make their lives better. And so you put all of that together and I'm like, yeah, I want to see people embrace the idea that if you work hard, that you can have all those things that I just outlined.
How do you avoid burnout?
Drew, this is the most confusing thing to me in all of human history. The number of times where I've had really good people quit because they burn out, it's crazy. Sips tea. And I say to all of them early, because you can find the ones that are going to burn out. And I will give them the same speech. And almost to a person, they ignore me. And I say, doing less is always an option. So I'm the CEO. I'm the one that can fire you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying to you, doing less is always an option. So if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, come to me and I'll help you prioritize. Mm-hmm. But what I have found is, in my opinion, there is a defect that people allow to grow in their frame of reference that says merely knowing that I have more things to do than I can get done is overwhelming in and of itself. That is weakness. People should not tolerate that in themselves. I'm grossed out for them. Because what you're saying is, I have no control over my mind or my emotions. And so just knowing, like Drew, I know how many negative comments I get, but I just don't engage with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they exist, but I just close that door in my mind and I say, it's okay. People can think bad things about me, or it's okay. There's more for me to do than I will ever be able to get done. And if I could get more done, my life would actually be better. But I run into this friction point of it starts to be too much and it's not fun. So for about an 8-month period, I worked for 120 hours a week. That wasn't fun. That wasn't sustainable. Damaged my marriage. I just didn't have time. I was so exhausted all the time that I wasn't a good partner. So I was like, oh, okay, I've got to back out of this. So I reminded myself doing less is always an option. What do I need to do to make sure that I can do less and the company still thrive? I did those things and now I don't work 120 hours a week anymore. So people act like they are not in control of their lives because they don't hold themselves accountable to personal responsibility, meaning I look at everything and I go, oh, if I did different things, I would get a different outcome. So, oh, I want a different outcome. Cool. I need to do different things. I don't have to go tell somebody else. Anyway, that really is the thing that it comes down to. People are not good at prioritizing and they cannot allow, they can't exist in a calm state if they know that there are more things to do than they can get done. Mm-hmm. And that to me is, that is they are damaging their own lives in a way where I'm like, I don't have more words to give them. I can give them the cause and effect. I can tell them what's happening from a brain chemistry standpoint. I can explain I'm the only one that can fire you, and I'm telling you right now that it's perfectly acceptable to come and say this is too many things. Mm-hmm. I've given them a process by which you list out all the things you need to do and you put a dotted line. That way you can communicate to everybody in the company. These are the only 4 things that I'm going to be working on right now, and everything below that dotted line is a dormant priority. And so if your number 1 priority is hinging on my 7th priority and I'm not going to touch it, you know you're now stuck. And so at that point, we have to go together to Tom. If you really feel like your thing has to be done, go together to Tom. Tom will break down how should we execute in priority order. And maybe I flip that on their list and that becomes the first thing they need to get done. But then I understand something drops below the dotted line and I'm perfectly willing to accept that everything in life is a trade-off. And so, yeah, I want to get this guy's number 1 done. It's tied to your number 7. I'm going to make it your number 1, which means what was your number 4 becomes your number 5, which falls below your dotted line. Great. And as I always tell people, hey, if you're not able to get enough done to meet the minimum requirements, I'll just tell you right to your face, you're not getting enough done. And people still implode. And then I'm just like, I have nothing. I have no more help to offer you.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting pushback. I'm trying from the chat. I'm trying to aggregate what the pushback is.
This is one, I have dead shark eyes for anybody with pushback on this. So this one you can bring as much as you want. And I will just tell you right now, my empathy is at 0. So, but anyway, let's talk about it. I don't fucking understand. If somebody can help me see what I'm missing, I would love it.
Monkey Jock says, Tom reminds me of my 7th grade teacher. You can ask her a random question during math about life, and before you knew it, the bell would ring, and it was lunchtime, and we would have not done no math.
Yeah, I have said many times, I'm the teacher that is very easy to distract with their favorite stories. It's very true.
That's awesome. I'm getting a lot of hard to burn out doing what you love. Like, if you're doing
that helps, but I was doing what I loved. In fact, I was doing the most enjoyable thing I'd ever done in my life, which was build a video game. Absolutely incredible. However, 120 hours a week means you're not getting enough sleep, means you're not spending time with your wife, certainly in my case. And so it ended up being unfun, but maybe other people, 120 hours, no big deal. Great.
Mm-hmm.
What's the pushback though? You literally,
it's because some people are saying it's unsustainable. I'm trying to like aggregate.
What is unsustainable?
Like
I'm saying,
okay.
When you hit unsustainable, back off.
Hold on. So
if you need a nap, go take a nap. If you need a day where you don't work at all, don't work. Like what the fuck? Doing less is always an option.
So don't do what Tom does. Do as much as you
can.
No.
Do what Tom does. Because guess what Tom does when he feels overwhelmed?
Takes a nap.
Yes, I do less. I say, I'm not going to work as much today. Where the problem is, Drew, what is happening? So the only thing if somebody is like, look, my boss is a tyrant and I'm going to lose my job if I'm not juggling 72 things and all of that, Cool. Your boss is creating the problem, not quote unquote grind culture. You always want to remind yourself, this is about priorities, doing the important things first. When you're approaching overwhelm, certainly at Impact Theory, you go make it known. These are the only things that I can get done. You can trust that somebody's going to tell you if those things aren't enough. And if you're not able to meet the needs of the company, then it is what it is, man. And at that point, you really may need to take a good look at yourself and say, my grind equivalent of VO2 max is too low. And so I'm going to have to do some work to get it up. Okay.
I love it. Special shout out.
That felt like some weak sauce pushback. You said there was pushback. I didn't get any pushback.
When you said do what I do, but then take a break, I feel like that was the pushback. There was a lot of people who were saying
do what I do, which is take a break whenever the fuck I need it.
There was Tom, but what you were doing isn't good enough for 50% of America. It's too much for them. Other countries that prioritize balance are better. But you're clearly articulating that you should take a break when necessary. You shouldn't break yourself.
Also, Drew, here's an idea that I have gone over endlessly with chat, so forgive me. I feel like I'm browbeating you guys to death with this. Innovation is one of my guiding lights. So to innovate, you've got to have the people that are willing to go absolutely ham. So when I hear like, but Norway like doesn't make these demands, fuck Norway. Like, I don't give a shit. If they want to be chill and lazy, let them be chill and lazy. That is not my vibe, dude. I am here to innovate, to push the world forward, breakthroughs, do things that nobody's ever done before. Let's fucking go, man. Look, it is entirely possible that I am so out of step with the current moment that I will fade into obscurity and this is never going to work and our fun little morning show just goes away. What the fuck ever. I am not here to say anything other than what I believe is true. And so what I believe is true is your life will be better if you become obsessed with something that you love doing and go all the way. But like Lisa cannot work the number of hours that I can work. She gets stressed. Cool. Don't work as many hours. I don't judge my wife. I'm like, when you play to win. And when you find yourself, ooh, I'm not having fun. Yeah, stop. Back off. Go do whatever you want to do. I just don't understand. If you want to go lay in a hammock, I'm all for it. People should live the life they want to live. They should not model me if I'm not a person living the way that they want to do things. But from a cultural energy standpoint, once you understand, I want innovation, I want to lead, then the words out of my mouth are going to make a lot more sense to you. But never, ever, 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 ever live a life that isn't joyful. Why would you do that? Live a life that you love, man.
Live the life that you love, man. I like that.
Word.
Shout out to Kip Moon. Welcome back.
I just think people are very bad at figuring out what they actually love.
Kip Moon. We got a super chat.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Crash.
Super chat.
From Crash. Crash says,
Bandicoot?
question for you or the chat. Where are people having these conversations in person? I try hard to find honest, stimulating conversations, but nowhere to be found. Most uninformed or unwilling to have deep conversations.
That's what the internet's for, man.
Discord.
Yeah.
Join the Discord.
Let's go. I think, look, friend groups are difficult to put together, but X is where I see a lot of this stuff going on. It's fun. Sometimes I will wade in. That's fun. Online, it's easy. In person, it can be tough.
Chess King said, conversations, just have kids. You will have unending chats. Have 5 and you'll have even more than you can handle.
Oh, God.
I have 1 and we talk about stuff I thought I had more time about. So, hey.
Yeah.
She's making PowerPoints for you right now.
I didn't even tell you about that. She wanted to change schools so she go to school with this boy that she likes. So she made like a presentation about the school that I want her to go to versus this other high school and how they like compare in like ranking. And and I'm like, you do all this for a little boy, like go read a book, like go implement that. So this
True. Can I make an appeal?
Yes.
Did you go point by point with her?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. That's all I want.
Oh no, I didn't.
Read a book, like
no. Yeah, I didn't dismiss it.
Okay.
That's how I was feeling internally because it was I want that motivation to come of something that she likes and enjoys, and not it's because of external factors. So I'm trying to cultivate that lock in that she has.
Okay, so I don't know enough about Lynn, so this may be wasted, so I'll keep it punchy. But one thing that might be useful is to say, okay, cool, relationships are very important to my daughter. Mm-hmm. Maybe whether it's platonic or romantic won't matter. Maybe it matters a lot. Mm-hmm. but mapping her in that way and saying, okay, cool, I see how much this matters to you. And so now we want to go down the road of how do we make sure that you do this well? Because a lot of people that are very infatuated with relationships can end up in a pretty dark place because they don't know how to navigate them.
Yeah.
And so now it's like that energy that you want, rather than trying to point it at something else, just be like, cool, we're going to point it at this thing that you're not breaking away from. But as she develops the understanding of how to map this, how to think about other people, how to research, all that, and is like actually getting better at this, it's like, oh, damn, he tricked me. Like he taught me how to research, how to get in control of my own emotions, how to self-evaluate, all that with the thing that I cared about. This was my mom's, my dad is definitely actually more credit for this. My dad, I didn't want to read. And at 13, my dad was like convinced that this was not a I didn't want to read problem. This was I hadn't found the thing I wanted to read about yet problem. And so he found the thing that I wanted to read about and it changed my life. And so he weaponized my obsession with sci-fi basically to get me into reading. And so if you can quote unquote weaponize her strong responses to non-platonic relationships as a way to get her to go down the road could be useful.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Cool. All right, we got to go, guys. That's all I got.
All right, everybody. We love you guys to death. Have an absolute wonderful weekend, everybody. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Peace.